There we go. Alrighty.
Yeah, let's review the whole.
It is 6:35. We're going to reconvene our meeting for December 20th, 2023. We started today's meeting at 5:45 with an in-camera session to discuss two items, one under land, FOIP section 27(1)B, and the other legal matter, FOIP section 25(1)C and 27(1)B. All that being said, nobody knows what that actually means. They're just numbers and fancy words. Okay. Motions arising from closed session? None. Presentations, 5.1. Pardon me?
You need to go back to one. Oh, sorry, 5.1.
5.1.
If that's the number one, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.1. Yeah.
No, you're doing great.
I know.
You got that under both. Yeah. The presentation got that under one, but it's also under one.
Oh, the Christmas concert people, yes. Yes. Oh, it is it? Off the top, look at that. Yeah, we're not gonna go into presentation. Yes, we are. So 1 and 5.1 are both on presentations for 2023 Christmas Light Contest winners. I know I have some checks here to sign. They're over there. But before we get there, do we have our winners' names right there, please? And welcome, Carrie, for chairing your first meeting as interim CAO. I've got an almond stuck in my throat, so.
It's fantastic. So first in the commercial is Foothills Consignment and Gets.
Here, you can.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first in residential is Richard Summerfield. The second in residential is Robert Griffin. And third residential, John Couture.
You guys are in the middle. Now, is this gonna even replace the bulb cop? Really? I will see if I can.
You might be getting
Nope, they're already.
terrible checks without a signature.
I know Brendan had a great time going around with seniors checking these out. But fantastic for you guys for keeping up some solid traditions, because, you know, I've got about 3 light bulbs out right now because I've been so busy building the house. And I feel bad, but when I drive around town and see places like yours, it is like thumbs up, absolutely awesome. Kind of gives you a new belief in Christmas sometimes. Okay, we got Richard. Right there, you guys. Thank you so much. Don't spend that all in one place.
Photo. We have a 10-minute photo.
Oh, we can take a photo. You want me to hold you mine? There you go.
Okay.
Good, all right. And we've got Griffin Robert, not you. How about you look like a Susan? No. There you go, John. Want to come on up here?
It's fine.
I've got John,
Oh,
so
I'm taking John's check.
there's no name on here. Is that supposed to be top?
You're from Foothills Consignment, correct?
Yeah, Foothills Consignment.
Okay, thank you. That's much better. Good job, good job. Too funny. All right, guys. Now, stay around for the very exciting meeting.
You're welcome to.
Yeah, you can take off, absolutely.
But thanks for doing that for the community.
Yeah, that was
You guys got it.
absolutely beautiful.
We have one weekend.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Adoption of minutes, 6.1, December 6th. Heather, any concerns, errors, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? Question period is a 15-minute section of time where we allocate for the public to ask questions of council or administration for points of clarity. You can email, text, call a counselor, call the office. We prefer you actually email the town. Have we received any questions for tonight's meeting, Ms. Florzo?
Not that I've been made aware of. No.
Excellent. Seeing none, we will move on from that. Delegations none, bylaws, policies, textual land use bylaw amendments. I will hand this over to Ms. Florizone to introduce and then stick handle it back to me.
Thank you, Mayor. This one was an odd software glitch on the December 6th meeting, so we had the public hearing, but then it never actually came for second and third reading. This is the removal of RV parking requirements from the land use bylaw, which are now under the property responsibility bylaw.
Excellent.
I'll give you second, that council do a second reading to bylaw 2023-32.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments? Pretty straightforward. All in favor? Thank you. Veronica, Jonathan?
Sure. Right,
I don't have to hold up.
I will. The council gave third reading to and pass bylaw 2023-32.
I could have made that.
You
Had your chance.
Any questions, concerns? All in favor? Thank you, and thank you for bringing that back. All right, TIP bylaw 2023-38. So here we have the tax installment payment plan. Anyone want to speak to this one first? Heather, go ahead.
Just 7.3
Right, 7.3, there is no 7.3
In the bylaw.
in bylaw. In that case, there is, yeah.
So. Above and noted in 7.4.
We're having a technical.
Sorry, I put my big thumb in the wrong place.
Which should be able.
I can, sorry, I'll just be 1 second.
I'm just gonna read that. So 7.3 states, the CAO or designate may recalculate the amount of the payments as required and at any time at their discretion and shall advise the taxpayer in writing of any changes in the amount the payments being made. In reference to, what was your other point, Heather?
Well, other than
One,
6.1 above, so.
which is during any federally or provincially declared state of emergency, public health emergency, or other similarly declared emergency or disaster, council may by resolution invoke this section in accordance with section 3471 of the MGA and direct administration to provide for deferral of property tax payments for a specified period of time.
Right, and then 7.4,
CAO or designate may recalculate the amounts of the payment following a deferral of payments undertaken in accordance with section 6.1 of this bylaw to ensure any taxpayers reinstating the plan after any deferral shall pay the outstanding balance of the taxes by the end of that calendar
Right.
year.
so those are the two cases that the CAO would recalculate, but what is 7.2 referring to? Or sorry, 7.3 referring to?
Wouldn't that be just with a tax increase? That's where they would.
No, because if you don't pay your tip, you're potentially off tip. Or in the case of 6.1, right? So that's when a CAO may or designate may recalculate, or the council may decide to by resolution invoke the 6.1. So when else would a CAO recalculate the payments?
So 7.3 allows a little bit of flexibility. So if a person for some reason that is sort of maybe beyond their control or is having a one-off difficulty and misses a tip payment, we can recalculate it and allow that one missed payment to be spread over so that they can pay on tips without making them play catch up.
So we don't harder to a contract for that, something.
So they're already on tips, but
Yeah.
something's gone wrong and they missed payment.
Okay.
Couldn't make payment. but to allow them to recalculate and spread that out over the remainder of the year keeps them on tips. It's not something we would want to continue to,
Yeah.
but it allows people to look at the case by case basis rather than you missed, you're off, sorry.
Yeah, okay. All
So
right.
it just
that-
allows
that's clear.
a
Yeah,
little bit
That
of
was my
a-
only question on that one.
Perfect.
Everything else is great.
All
I
right,
have a comment to it.
yes, please.
If I may, through the CAO, to Verna, if somebody wants to pay extra. Let's say they come in and they have, you know what, they're looking at their next 8 months, they got a bonus at work, and they're like, I'm gonna put $1,000 towards it. Does that allow, is there an allowance for them to do that? Would it not?
Just sits there.
Actually, and they wanted, because then 7.3 would allow the recalculation, but there wasn't a mechanism that allowed them to do that. They were a little bit frustrated.
I would think this, I mean, there's obviously still in very good standing, not just in
Yeah.
good standing, so I don't see why that wouldn't be permitted. I honestly have never had anybody want to do that before.
Yeah.
That I've been made aware of, but I wouldn't see why that wouldn't be easy.
3.1 says taxpayer may pay property taxes in installments provided that taxpayer is enrolled in the TIPS program. So it's interesting. Yeah, okay, Cindy?
I did actually have a resident recently approach me asking, because the MD or the county provides like a 6%. What was 10? We used to be 10, okay, that's a lot, like a big, if you paid it before January 1st or whatever of the year, then you would get, like, they just advertised it in the Western Mail the other day, that you get 6%.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done that for years.
Yeah, for years.
I think some people might, I just wonder if
Yes.
there's meaning that maybe there's some bonus or something extra, which we don't currently offer. So there's no incentive to be on the deal. There's no incentive.
Okay, any further questions for clarity on this?
No year. No.
Heather?
I'll give you first reading.
Okay, thank you.
The council give first reading to bylaw 2023-38, the tax installment payment plan tip bylaw.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? I will give you the council give bylaw 2023-38 second reading. Any further discussion? Comments? All in favor?
I can give you 30.
Present.
Present.
Okay. That council agreed to present bylaw 2023-38 for third reading at this time.
Any further debate, discussion, concerns? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Fire away.
The council give bylaw 2023-38 third and final reading.
Thank you. And again, last chance. Any concerns? Comments, reflections? Seeing none. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Council remuneration, education, expense reimbursement policy. Before you, you have the policy, which was vetted by committee, adjusted by council, through committee of the whole, refined by Verna, and presented back to us here tonight to meet the requirements of the 2024 budget. Any concerns? Any errors, omissions? Anything of the nature? Not, I will take a motion to get us started. Heather, go ahead.
Just a little confusion.
Okay.
Approved timesheets, 7.2, approved timesheets must be submitted to the finance department not later than the 22nd day of the month of the next available business day. Doesn't make sense to me. Should the 22nd fall on a weekend or general holiday? That's a bit confusing.
There's a typo for.
It is, that's
Okay.
correct.
And then 8.1 B is a bit confusing as well.
8.1B, okay.
Council will provide an equal amount for each councillor and the mayor will be allotted an amount increased by half attendance at, but not limited to. Council will be allotted an equal amount for each councillor, like, it just is a bit confusing. Council members will be allowed Or, yeah, that one's a bit confusing too.
If I can put that into just a simple number,
Mhm.
because it would potentially change on each budget.
Yeah.
But for example, if all of the counselors had 1,000, the mayor would have 1,500.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the wording.
Yeah.
Works, but
but what does it mean, an amount increased by half to permit attendance?
50% additional to the mayor. Additional that
on top of.
on top of the council. And that amount would be allocated specifically for attendance
Okay.
at
that makes-
conferences or programs,
But not limited to.
but not limited to, yes, attendance at those different events.
Okay. That makes sense.
Thank you.
Kickstart my heart, Councillor Gordon.
And the council adopted the policy council 013, council remuneration, education expense reimbursement as presented. If I can speak to that, I think the committee that came forward to do this, as it was presented to council many, many weeks ago, they did an excellent job and the recommendations were sound and I appreciate their work.
Excellent, thank you. Any further? With clarity?
So the
concerns?
typo can just be fixed. Hey, thanks.
They say yes.
Okay.
Okay. So of to or.
Oh, I had one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um,
Now's the time.
Just the order of the schedules. I was just wondering why the policy revision history kind of came before the schedules.
If I could, Mayor?
Mhm.
So we started adding this into all of the policies. It's not actually a schedule. It's just sort of the tag end at the end of the policy to track the policy revisions themselves.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which
It's like you got it taught as well, kind of.
Probably not. Probably at the top, we'll start keeping the original dates of the policy, and then we'll add the current revision of the document before you at that time.
Okay,
But whatever's in between will be tracked down in that table at the bottom.
okay. All right, that sounds great. Thanks, Verna.
You're
Just got from the order.
All right. Anything further?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor? As carried, that will come into effect January 1. So with that being said, please fill out your time sheets this evening, as tomorrow's the last day for yeah. Before Christmas. All right, next item, development permit application 150-2023 DP. I shall hand that one off to our acting CAO, Ms. Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a continuation of the file that you heard on December 6th. Coming back with some additional information about payment of offsite levies. There was a summary in the agenda package. At this time, the recommendation of administration is to require offsite levy payment in full as per the offsite levy bylaw. That property, as it has not been assessed offsite levies at this time, and the offsite levy bylaw requires all properties to pay their proportionate share of levies to benefit the community when development comes online. If they have not already paid it, the site has not paid it. The permit itself will allow for 2 additional apartment suites in the apartment building, so it'll go from 22 to 24. And it will also permit the use of an accessory building for temporary construction and sales office.
Okay, excellent. So council, how would you like to proceed? We have 3 options. First from administration, who would like to see this done? I'm open for discussion. Option 1 would satisfy those needs, I assume, Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Then I will give the motion.
I can give it if you want there.
Sure.
As strong. The council approved development permit application 150-2023 DP for 24-unit apartment building and a temporary use accessory building with signage in accordance with the attached draft development permit.
We have a motion on the floor, debate, concerns, considerations. All read your agenda package, it's pretty robust. No tidbits? Then I shall give you one last chance. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? And that was carried. Thank you. All right. Good evening, Bob.
Good evening. Apologize for being late.
Oh, that's okay. We're just moved into 11.2. Trail slope stability replacement costs. I don't believe, Bob, you didn't win any Christmas light presentation, did you?
Yes,
Yes, you did. We got some money for you. We'll take a quick second, shake some hands here and give some money away.
And get a picture.
Where are you at?
417 Second Avenue Northwest.
Oh, there you go. Come on up, give him some money. See, now, that's funny, because I was looking at Robert Griffin, and I was like, I know that name,
Yeah,
but I know you as Bob, not Robert. Congratulations, sir. There you go. And there's our picture over there. I think. Thanks for doing that. Community loves it.
we do it for the community
It's fantastic.
and the kids, for the kids and the big kids too. We just. The inside of the house has about 20 Christmas trees. That's for.
Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so
doing
much.
that. It is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Really appreciate it.
Okay, trail slope stability replacement costs. 11.2, Mr. Beaton, I'm just gonna hand it off to you and you can walk us through.
Yeah, I don't know that I need to go into the background too much. At looking at the cost to replace a railing along that trail from Diane Craig Park. I'm anticipating that there's no contractor requirements. Our park staff have the means to do this work. Materials based on wood post along the railing with metal pipe railing that would be attached to that wooden post. It would be approximately $2,000 for materials. The proposed options would be that council approve the install of a wood post, metal rail, handrail on the Willow Ridge Trail from Diane Craig Park. Option 2 would be that council approve not to reinstall a railing on the Willow Ridge Trail for Diane Craig Park. And option 3 would be that council direct administration to provide options costs for a trail realignment to eliminate the steep trail grade. Administration recommendation is that council approve the install of a wood post, metal rail, handrail on Willow Ridge Trail from Diane Craig Park.
Excellent, thank you, Councilor Gordon.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this back to us so quickly at a fairly inexpensive rate. Question I do have before we move on to making a motion. When we discussed this in our last council meeting, you mentioned the, shall I say, incredible slope that exists on the trail. In the last 2 weeks, have you been able to take a look at perhaps even sketching out, altering that trail, taking away that slope, what that price might look like long-term? I think this is a solution that works now, but I think long-term, we should look at reducing that slope.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Through the chair. Yes, I took a brief look at our GIS system, which offers me contours that allows me to look at the grades and slopes within a half-meter increment. And I was able to sketch out what would be reasonably a trail with about a 6 to an 8% grade. It would come through the bank, and I just haven't had a chance to put any costs to that. So that would be solid for me. But it would the realignment, anticipated realignment would be that once we remove the existing trail, realign through the forest and up the bank, we could reforest a portion of the trail right away that's currently trail, forest that up so that it starts to grow and closes off the old route.
Excellent. I think that is something that we can look at further in the year. Heather.
Yeah, I totally am okay with the rail replacement and would like to see that trail realignment done. Cause I think that this is just a temporary fix. It's a much bigger issue, that slope. And that trail is a tough one anyway, even the bottom lower portion. I mean, it's in the shade all the time and it's tough to take care of, to maintain. So I think that's another thing, like we have to be more aware of this stuff when it comes to operations and developments and everything. So I'd really like to look forward to seeing that slope fixed. So I'd look forward to having that maybe in our next capital budget or included in this capital budget. I don't know, but we don't have any costs. So it would be tough for the capital budget, but you know, it would be good to get some costs to just fix the darn thing.
Thank you. Councillor Holiday.
Is there any chance that what we're replacing it with, because it's wood post, I think it was all metal before, that they're not gonna be happy, like, that someone's not gonna be happy with how it's going back in? Is there gonna be any change, like, that it's not as usable because it's not like the full smooth, you know what I'm getting at? Like, it's not the welded all the way down. So you have to like take your hand off to go to the next post, I'm assuming, because you've got a post in the way. I'm into the weeds. I really feel like I'm into the weeds, but I think, yeah,
You can't skateboard ride at this time.
yeah.
I think this is a temporary fix and that's how we have to look at it. We have to look at it that way, because it's.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but still, can you address, because we will hear about it.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great point, Councillor Holiday. Through the chair. I'm beginning to fear that there's nothing that I can do regardless of rail, snow removal, tree cleanup, whatever it might be. It seems to be a controversy at the moment. I've had calls. We were cleaning up some dead trees that were leaning towards the trail surface, and we were called about ruining their forest when they're just trying to keep trees from falling on people. I don't know if I'm ever going to make them happy at this point. However, the rail should be adequate. It will be a continual rail, with the exception of where we mount the rail to the post. They will have to lift their fingers for brief spacing at the posts, but otherwise it should be a pretty sufficient or adequate temporary measure. And it wouldn't even have to be that temporary. Those posts would be in there pretty solid.
Thank you. There go.
One more question. Is it likely to get it done this year?
Once
Or
the,
frozen?
once the frost is gone, yes.
Yeah.
In the spring.
Yep. Hey, thank you.
Like little fires. Yeah.
Bring the torches.
Burning down.
All right, we have a very cost-effective solution for the safety concerns that we heard loud and clear, which was the main push by the public in regards to Diane Craig Park. So I think it is only right that we address the safety concerns, and thank you for presenting this with a easy option for the temporary solution. Councillor Gordon.
I will make that motion. The council approves the install of a wood post, metal rail, handrail on the Willow Ridge Trail from Diane Craig Park.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Diamond Valley Parade Day route change proposal. Ms. LeBlanc. Come on down. And we'll just jump right into this, baby. We've got some pictures. You want to walk us through that? Absolutely. Okay, guys, we got 2 maps we're gonna have up here on the board as well.
In just a moment, and I'd like to acknowledge also that Sergeant Matt Hogan is here and he can provide additional details should you have any questions regarding anything that I present this evening. I very much appreciate council's consideration of this. As you know, we have a beloved parade that has been happening in the community, formerly of Black Diamond, for many, many decades, and many generations have enjoyed it. And from best guesses, we're attracting about 2,000 people a year. But at the same time, we're also closing off a portion of some major highways and diverting approximately 1,700 vehicles during that 2-hour period, which you can imagine results in a number of issues, including frustrated motorists and some safety issues that it presents. So the photos that Mayor Crane had referred to show the detour route that's being currently used by the passenger vehicles. I can't be 100% sure that that's not been used either by non-passenger vehicles. I think there's been the odd large truck that slipped through that. And if you're familiar with West End lands, it truly is nothing more than a road allowance that's never been developed and certainly isn't at par with what would be the standards to be able to carry any kind of traffic. We've had issues also with signage and managing that detour effectively. Part of the issue that particular day as well is that we split our team up. We do rely entirely on volunteers when it comes to some portions of it. And we don't necessarily have staff that would be positioned in certain areas to ensure that vehicles are following the right route. But because there's so much traffic, one follows the other and somehow it works, but not without a lot of frustration and worry. And again, some safety challenges. So this evening I present to you an alternative that would see that the route that formally requires a partial closure of Government Road and Center Avenue, both Highway 22. And that we would essentially keep the parade route entirely within municipal streets and boundaries. And would completely eliminate the need for any of the West End detour. So the alternate, if you take a look at it, does reduce the size of it, but we find ourselves going basically 1 block to, it would be the west one end and to the south on the other. And it would reduce the parade length the route length by approximately 0.5 kilometers. But I've been able to go through that route and I had operations manager Craig Beaton and also Steve Hendrickson, who had been very heavily involved in setting up for the parade in the past from a public works side. And looking at it, it seemed very feasible, could very easily be accommodated. And essentially, there's a small number of new residents that would be affected. New meaning that it would be included within the route, and there's approximately 32 that would now have the parade in front of their house, which can be looked at in many ways. In our research, we took a look at other communities that hold it entirely, all of the ones that we talked to, they hold it entirely within their boundaries, except for Longview. And that one's quite an anomaly. And I think that we can attest to that being also quite a frustrating sort of event for anybody who's not planning on attending and enjoying it. But with this, looking at the alternatives, we felt that it would be something that's quite feasible. In the long run, it saves all of that diversion, increases the safety, and hopefully provides those that are just passing through with a much better, I would say, impression of Diamond Valley, so that they're not so frustrated by having to detour. So part of it would be that it would be fairly easy to just ask for council's approval on this proposed route and have it go forward. There would be, of course, public notification, any of the affected stakeholders, which would include the businesses, the residents, and as well as any of the organizations, including, for example, Alberta Transportation. However, we do feel that because of the magnitude of this shift, it's quite significant that it would be best to get your direction on it first and then go to the public to see what that would be like. So In general, if we take a look at it, the advantages I've already laid out, I think fairly clearly. The disadvantages is that now it would affect, albeit temporarily, but it would affect the downtown businesses whereby they're no longer a viewing point and that visitors and residents are maybe not as accessible to those businesses and vice versa. However, it's very temporary, and considering it's from 9 to 11, typically most of those shops would not open until 11. It would also allow those businesses to possibly participate because now they don't really have to feel obligated to be opened until after the parade. We also feel that it would ease the congestion after the parade, whereby now as the participants clear out, as well as anybody that is wanting to go to the Turner Valley side, community side, to participate in activities there, then it should relieve congestion. So we're looking for your input, your thoughts around this and how you feel it might go. And in front of you is basically the proposal as to what that would look like and how we would reach out to the community to be able to inform them.
Okay, excellent. Councillor Clover, then Councillor Holiday, then Councillor Martin.
Yeah, so this decision actually hinges on 11.5, or it has the potential to. Our capital budget has First Avenue Northwest as an upgrade this year. So depending on when construction and if we pass the capital budget, this might conflict with the parade date. Also, I live on the detour route and no one asked me if I was okay.
No, you what? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No one ever asked me if my street was okay with the detour going.
Right, Councillor Holiday. Oh, sorry, Carrie.
I just wanted to clarify that the ask in the capital is First Ave Northwest and the proposed route is First Ave Southwest.
But the detour is First
The
Avenue.
current detour.
Oh, the current
detour.
Current parade map doesn't
Yes.
work. So we have to switch it this year.
Yeah, if we want to set up
My
the
point
budget.
entirely. So I don't
Did
think,
everyone follow that?
yeah, yeah, so there's really no point consulting the public because we have no other option this year if we pass that. I would think that we should consult afterwards and say, how did it go? Right? And how did it compare and talk to the businesses? I had wondered if there's ways that you could just keep going up First Street, cut off that government road section and then come down Ford. Like, and still get a little bit on Center Ave, but still have access points around, but that's for another day. I think, because we have to get it off. We can't, we have to have Center Ave, because we can't detour on First if we do the capital project on it. So I think we have to move it according to plan. But my other thought on this is now that we are Diamond Valley, how crucial is it to have the portion that was in Millennial Park still there? Because it's kind of a pain that you're already down there for a parade and now you gotta get in your car, fight traffic and go to the other side. When we have that nice place where they have music festival, we have all the parking at the curling rink and the schools. Like the parking in the on the Turner Valley side is kind of sucky, is what I've found. I think you have better parking over there and everybody's already over there. You get a nice transition and have you guys talked about that. And then we don't have to get Conoco's permission. And it seems like there was nothing really open anyways, business wise.
Well, before we go on to that tangent, because that's gonna be totally off base, to start a whole new debate. Let's get this one nailed down.
Oh, I think
First.
it's obvious it has to be done for this year, if we approve.
If we approve it, it actually goes through. So let's go to Hazel first.
Just a comment, Nick, you said there would be probably about 32 houses, properties that would be affected. With their letters, would there be individual letters going out to these people other than the social media and the website and everything?
Certainly. Thank you for your question, Councilor Martin. I absolutely feel that that would be something out of respect for them. It's something new and it would affect them. However, if the decision's made and we're not asking for public consultation, it's a notification. Polite and respectful as it would be, but definitely it would be direct. And then we have to request that they remove their vehicles where possible and be able to allow back alley parking, for example. So short answer, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that has.
And I think it's okay for the businesses. I agree, like it would be nice if they could participate further, but people are gonna park there now.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they might have more, you know, after the parade, have more reason to go into stores because they're parked right there. So, and I agree, the congestion will just flow out. They get in their cars and they flow out. So I think it will help that way, and I'm quite okay with this. And of course, because we're moving forward with potentially moving forward with a capital project, which really needs to be done, I'm fine with this.
Okay, Councillor Gordon, any comments before we wrap her up?
I actually think it's forward thinking, looking ahead, taking it off of the main routes. I mean, we were just at the High River Christmas Parade. That's all within the center portion of town. There's no main routes being affected by it. So I support this decision. I think it's very forward thinking. Thank you.
That's a very good point. Actually, that was an extremely well-run and well-attended and exciting parade. Absolutely one of the best I've been to. One concern is people. We need to pack people in, and they will essentially be taking over lawns and driveways of residents on the affected route. So better to have a carrot than a stick. We should have some incentive for those people that are going to be affected to maybe encourage them to allow residents to populate their driveway and so on. So just things to think about as we move forward.
Yeah, and I think that that's fully sidewalked. And, you know, like I
Yeah.
currently on the other streets that we use now is that I don't think I've ever heard of any issue. I think people are quite respectful, not sitting in driveways, but they're on the sidewalks and the boulevards. So, but yeah, it's fully sidewalked. I walk it.
That's good. As long as we got boulevard where people can go,
Yeah.
and of course,
Yeah.
communication to the public is absolutely essential through things like this. There will be people who are upset about it. And right to day one, when it actually happens, they'll still go and set up where they always have and say, how come nobody came to my door and told me? So we have to be way ahead of this by months.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, first will be these kids.
Yeah, Cindy, and then let's get a motion on the table.
I think it has to be taken as a 1-year pilot because of the construction. I'm assuming we're passing that item. That this is a 1-year pilot because of the construction, but also to see how it goes.
Yep.
I think that should be communicated.
Ms. LeBlanc, and then we're gonna wrap up.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment. But really looking forward, I do feel that a permanent change is required. If it was totally disastrous, which I would hope not, certainly from a safety perspective. But the amount of extra work that's required as a result of the current detour is something that I think we're really risking, you know, the safety of voters that are passing through. That would be my concern. We're really on a type of trail as opposed to any kind of a roadway. And we would have to ramp up to do it more safely. We would have to ramp up our ranks as far as additional volunteers. And I would suggest professional flaggers in that area because of the terrain. But nevertheless, I understand we would definitely look in and assess how it goes in 24.
Okay, excellent. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll give you the motion, but another point or another question is, does this eliminate the need of going to Alberta Transportation every year?
Craig says absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Thompson. 100% it does.
That's huge.
I will.
Although we will notify them of the change and the fact that the event is occurring.
Because I know that's a real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give you the, if a note.
Yes, please.
Is the council approve administration 2024 Noonan Valley Parade route change proposal as presented with the final recommendation to be provided no later than February 21st, 2024. I think I'd like to eliminate that and just say that as presented, with the expectation that notification will go to residents along the route, the new portion of the route.
Okay, that works, good. Concerns?
A timeline on that communication?
Yeah,
I don't want
that's
it.
what I was gonna say. Good, I was gonna say the same thing. I want this months ahead. Ideas.
Thank you, certainly through the mayor. The intention was for this to go out in January for staff to be able to report back to you by February, so that timeline would be retained. And I also would like to mention that I appreciate the comment with regard to consolidating both events that will be taken into consideration and we'll be able to report back to you.
I was gonna push.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball act. A lot of different.
Almost, I just wanted it to be agenda.
Yeah, I think,
If
Yeah.
you're on the idea of moving the secondary portion, I would, I just wanted it as like an admin inquiry.
Do that as a meeting.
Yeah,
yeah, let's do that one, because there's a whole bunch of stuff.
yeah, no, I don't want it like set in stone. I just want to know the information.
Okay, something we'll work on here next few months. All right. All in favor? That's carried, thank you. Moving on. Master fee schedule, thank you, Mr. Master fee schedule. Ms. Flores.
Yes, so Brenna's gonna correct me if I'm wrong. There was a master fee schedule that went before each respective council, before amalgamation happened. There was a glitch in that process, and now it's coming before us just to finalize it, make sure that we're all on the same page. Were there any updates to amounts?
Yes,
There were a few updates to amounts.
yes, the arena rates, council updated in August, so those are included in here. And the slight increases to the Flare and Derrick rates were included in the budget and approved, and so that the sheet's been updated to include that as well.
Okay, good. Is there anything in here that didn't get redlined as a change from the JFAC discussion?
No, Mayor Crane, I did actually go right back to those presentations to JFAC to figure out how the glitches happened. So what is here is what we used this year to the best of our knowledge was the intent that went before JFAC.
Okay, excellent. I got Merton, then Holiday, then Heather.
Just a question there, Berna, in respect to when you say that the hall rental fees were changed at such a time. Was this presented at that time?
I am not sure, perhaps Ms. LeBlanc can answer that question.
Excuse me, council, I only caught a portion of that with regard to the rental of the Claire here.
Yeah, were these fees presented at the time of budget?
Not the details, we did say that there would be a fee increase.
Okay, but not to this,
No,
not to this extent.
not to this, no, not to this detail level.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Can you please explain why there is a resident and non-resident rate? Because now we're kind of going back in time, as we used to have this.
Thank you for the question through the chair. Council Martin, you may recall as well that there had been some suggestion that there should be some offsetting of it, so the subsidized portion of it would be in favor of those that are helping to pay the taxes towards operations. And that's why it was decided that there would be a split between the two.
Was that also through budget talks? I don't remember that.
No, that detail was not provided. No, we said that we were working on an increase and this is what we're suggesting.
Yeah.
This is after a lot of research has been conducted and we're still very much in the ballpark when it comes to the competitive facilities within the area.
I guess for me, it's always been, in my past experience was that somebody comes in that is not a resident and they'll say, we want to rent the hall and you're charging me a higher fee, even though I'm using services in towns. We're camping, we're using the hotel for accommodations and stuff for our guests. That, it's almost penalizing people to charge them, a higher rate.
it's not uncommon in the industry, again, as Mrs. Long said, the taxpayers are paying essentially the additional portion in their taxes, which is why they get the discount versus looking at it as a penalty for being a non-resident.
But a lot of communities, it's just one rate, that's all they pay. And it doesn't matter if they're a resident or a non-resident.
That's-
To respond, I guess I would like to know those. I know, for example, Pritis, you have to be a member to get a discounted rate. So whether you call it a membership or you call it a non-resident rate.
Yeah.
This is what's being suggested. I'm certain that we can go back and.
No, thank you. This is a council decision that we set forth, that we wanted to have this tiered system, sorry. We asked for that, so I'm totally fine with it.
And how many, all rentals were there that came from outside last year and this year?
To the chair, I'm sorry, I can't give you that information.
You
at the
don't know
moment.
those stats? Okay, and then if you go onto the website, right now, there is no fees. It doesn't list the fees, the current fees, because I went to check them to see how much we increase. Is there, can we get that put on?
If I may, I do believe that that was just suspended until such time as we had them approved so that they could be updated. So it's a matter of, yes, they can be updated if they're approved this evening, and if not, we'll post the old rates.
Okay, thank you.
Cindy, then Heather.
Since we're already on the hall, I'm just wondering, the hourly rates, if you're not doing the kitchen, it just depending on reservations. Versus before, I thought we had it published. Does that deter people that they have to phone? Do they just? Because the other rates are really high, and I remember that being quite a bit more reasonable if you didn't use a kitchen. I'm just wondering if that's might deter people from just not even phoning because they see the prices are so high.
It could, it's certainly not meant to be that way.
Alright, yeah, and then I didn't understand the 75 added to kitchen only rentals of once per week. I don't understand.
So to respond directly, that we do get, it's a commercial kitchen, it's rated as a commercial kitchen, and we do get kitchen rentals only. So it's a matter of the cleanup as opposed to getting the cleaners in there on a daily basis. It's charged on weekly.
Oh, so if they rent it for the week, then they only pay
The one
cleaning
cleaning charge. As
Gotcha,
opposed to
okay,
everything.
sorry, I didn't miss that, okay.
No, that's fine.
Then my only other thing that I didn't like about this that's caught me personally was under residential detached application fees, we have single and then comma studio suite. Studio suite's not used in the Turner Valley bylaw. I don't know what the wording is on the Black Diamond land use bylaw, but we use secondary suites, we use all sorts of other names, but I don't know if we ever use studio suite, so I'm just wondering if we can use whatever's in each bylaw, like the secondary suite or whatever the other bylaw. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we can make that textual.
Yeah,
Change. It wouldn't change the meaning, intent, or function. It's just a terminology.
yeah, so you're using, so people know, oh, I'm applying for a secondary suite or I'm whatever, so. Okay, that's my only change. And I'm okay with having the different rates. I think taxpayers subsidize it, so makes them feel like they have a perk.
I'd still like to know what the stats are.
Yeah, we can get those. Heather.
Yeah, I'm okay with the rates on the hall. I mean, let's face it, the Clarendaric is the white elephant, and I don't want our residents to be paying any more than what is needed, right? So, it should have been retired 15 years ago. And that's the bottom line. It's not making us money, it's costing us money.
Yeah,
So,
we know that.
I'd rather see non-residents pay a little or more. My question, and I don't know who's gonna answer this, but regarding these oil fields arena, and Scott Seaman. I'm good with the regular ice rental. Ice rental. But I've never seen these dry pad rates. What's dry pad rates? For when summertime, for roller skating and stuff like that, which is great. But then we go on to the dry pad rates for all groups, and those are different rates than local youth, than non-local youth and adults. So, and then dry pads got seaman rates and all groups, so I'm are we getting a little carried away here with all these rates? I mean, it's very confusing to me, like for the public to figure out, oh, okay, well, what's all groups? Well, why wouldn't I just do all groups or non-residential, all groups? What does that mean?
To the chair, Councillor Thompson, I'm not overly familiar with the rates.
I've never seen them.
Just started managing that facility, but I would imagine it's to capture a large number of varying groups that utilize that surface or those facilities. I don't know if Monique would be able to elaborate any more on that, but I really don't have a lot of detail or insight on those rates.
Thank you, Craig. I'll do my best, but unfortunately with the retirement of Les Quinton, some of that knowledge has been lost a little bit.
But I've never seen this before.
No, okay. What I understand it to be also is that we do receive a grant annually for both of the arenas, one from Foothills County and then the other one from the Seaman Calgary Foundation. And I believe that it's the youth aspect of it that is subsidized, so that's why it's broken out. But in terms of the all groups, I do need clarification on that as well.
Well, even the dry pad, like, you know, the seaman is hockey. Right?
But it's also pickleball and there's other activities that happen. And then there's training as well that happens.
Sure, but the seaman grant doesn't apply to that.
No, I think it is only hockey, you're right.
Yeah, so yeah, just some clarification around that. I don't mind it. I just don't understand why we have so many darn rates. Like, seems like a lot of rates that I've never seen before as a council member. A council member from Black Diamond days.
Yep.
I don't know, Veronica, have you seen these dry rates before?
Where?
We didn't see them last.
No, he didn't present last year.
Yeah,
Every
so-
year before, we got to go through all.
Yeah, like I think I have never seen another community with this kind of stuff, so I think that it's kind of,
Let's have.
what do we have? Yeah,
Carrie can have the floor and maybe she's got some answers. Carrie.
Yeah, so this master fee schedule, I'm looking at what we are currently using and have been for the past year out of JFAC, and it was detailed. And it's been what we've been using for the last year with a breakdown like this, yeah.
Yeah, that was a colored chart that Lisa and Laura divided us.
just, it's overkill there. We rent it out for rollerblading once in a while.
Well, I do like your idea of getting clarity on the grants and what they apply to, so that's something we can follow up on. For now, I'm fine with moving ahead. Cindy?
Do we have like the net, so like pickleball works in those facilities for people renting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
During the summer months.
In summer months,
Yeah.
okay.
I've watched for the loudness of the pickleball.
Well, inside the arena,
It's the juice in the ball, you know, it's,
the brine.
yeah, it's brutal.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm good with it. It just seems to be overkill. All these different divisions and stuff, that we just apply.
I agree.
It is, it's just overkill.
Hazel, finish this off.
It's
Just a quick question.
County
So if
nightmare.
somebody goes to play pickleball, do they have to book the dry pad and pay? Is that correct? Or they just,
It's.
There's not, yes. There's an adult league, is it twice a week? Yeah, something like that. So the adult league has it.
and they pay.
And it-
So if we could look into just cleaning that up, because that's just
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
a nightmare.
So if some residents just go down or kids go down and it's empty and they plan? Are you getting after them or letting them or?
So,
What happens there?
so sorry, through the chair. Again, forgive me, I only just took over the arena in August. So I'm still getting up to speed on it, but yes, I believe that people will book some time to use that as group. But if it's not available, kids are regularly in there, whether they're allowed to, I'm not 100%, but I think the staff are pretty relaxed for the most part about that, is unless it's a group and there's a booking in place. But the pickleball nets can come down, people use it for a number of different events or sports. So throughout the summer, that's those nets come down at the end of the day, so they're not out all night. Yeah, so we use it also for special events, bands, and so on.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion, please? Thank you, Veronica.
Let's get back up here to read it properly. The council agrees to authorize the attached master fee schedule for implementation January 1, 2024.
Thank you. Any further comments?
We just like more information on all the points, but no motion.
Okay. All in favor? That is carried. And yeah, if we could get a copy of what the Seaman grant actually applies to and for, maybe that'll give clarity, and or maybe there's a broader discussion on how we can diversify. Okay,
Well, we got that right here. Auger Foundation is for the thoughts in the sports ring, $30,000. Yeah.
Sure.
And Foothills County, I don't think there's even an agreement. They just do what they do, and same as the pool. So, that will.
That'll be under
Part and parcel.
ICF's by April.
Yeah, the ICF. But
All right.
Auger Foundation, I'm pretty sure it's operating
Moving on.
grant.
2024 capital budget draft by due. And let's roll on that one, shall we, Mr. Vin?
Good evening, Council. We did present the draft number 1 in October 19. This is draft number 2 for the 2024 capital budget. So why there is a capital budget? The meaning of the capital budget is to enhance the infrastructure as well as for the forward thinking. Then we did prepare a PowerPoint presentation. The key points for the PowerPoint presentation is, one is the capital budget standalone statement for the 2024. Another one is the 10-year capital plan for 2024 year. Then the source of the funding for the 2024 capital budget.
We're gonna run that up on the screen, are we? For everybody?
Yes.
It's up, I'm just gonna grab it over there very quick, follow water. Anybody else on water? Okay, anybody else? Water? Okay. All right.
You just go through one by one.
Yes.
Item.
Absolutely. Let's roll right on down through, guys.
Or-
Okay, so we're gonna start on your executive summary sheet, essentially with what you have right on your desk in front of you.
Yeah, that's the
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
all right, Cindy, why don't you lead us off? I know Hazel's got notes, Heather's got notes as well, so we can
so just talking,
blend it all.
all facilities, rekey, security, I agree with it all, but I'm just worried because we're in the talks about what facilities we need and transitions, and I don't want to rekey something that we're decide to sell. Or, you know what I mean? So is there any, can we make sure that that's taken into account?
Absolutely, and that's a great point. With respect to rekeying and security for our facilities, it's kind of become a little more obvious that this facility is not as critical for rekeying or adding new security to. However, there are a number of facilities that we are utilizing with full staff that frankly have not been changed. The keys have not been changed in decades. We don't have a record of who had keys, where keys are. We have a mix of different types of security systems and surveillance systems, and none of them collaborate together and are of an age where we can't really align the entire systems. So, and then feasibility of holding off and waiting until we have new facilities or assign new facilities. We're probably looking at a number of years before that'll happen either. So I think it's imperative that we look at a keying system that updates our security as well as our surveillance systems with a system that we can manage more efficiently, be able to, this is one key ring, and that's only about half the buildings that I have access to. And then being able to properly assign keyless entry for some staff, or sorry, for staff that for each facility. So if staff lose key or are no longer with us, it's a tippity tap on the computer and they're deleted. Likewise, new staff come in, there's your fob and now you have access. And then the keys would be for specific spaces, so offices and or storage or utility rooms that staff would have keys for.
Cindy?
Yeah, I'm not at all against like the merits. I totally approve of it. I just like this building, is probably the biggest one that I would want to leave.
This facility would be probably off the list.
Okay, yeah, as long as you guys.
With the exception of maybe changing the barrels for a new key.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, as long as you've got your, like, start with the ones that we know we're keeping, like, the right.
Yeah.
TCA, so
Okay,
they're not in our paper copies, so I'm just asking for the TCAs to be put up as we're going through individual ones. So the next one would be the lethal pool showers.
so it's pool shower up in Kylie?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's what money and stuff, and we're gonna start with Alaska.
Before any questions are asked, if I may, the pool showers. So you may recall that one shower in the women's bathroom was down pretty much all summer. Unfortunately, it was near impossible to get in there to do any repairs because it was more than just a simple button repair. And of course, the time it would take to take that bathroom or that shower out of commission during the season, it's almost impossible. You need to find a contractor that will work extremely diligent through the night so it's ready the next day. So for obvious reasons, we were unable to fix that shower. Over the years, I don't know where or when or if ever, the tops of the showers were never capped. So over the years, all that moisture was able to settle down in behind the walls. And when I started looking at replacing some of the plumbing, I started to realize we had some really big issues, and it's best just to kind of. But honestly, if we want to fix those showers, we do have to do more than just a simple plumbing job. We have to pull those walls down, reconstruct them and retile it.
Hazel. Then I have comment.
That would be for both the men's and the women's,
That's correct.
and also the toilets too, right?
No toilets.
Just the showers. So there's 4.
Yes, technically there's 4. In the men's room, it's kind of one bay. In the women's, it's 2 actual stalls. And then toilets, that is another issue. But I didn't feel that it was critical at this point. The toilets are functional, they're hygienic. The downside is on the women's side, there is no actual accessible stall available. But can't simply make a stall larger. I don't have the space without reconfiguring the entire space.
Like even just moving the diaper, bed.
That wouldn't make it accessible.
Okay.
The man have a diaper bed, you just give him and. The story I'll save for another day. My maybe positive thought on this, visualizing down the road, when we say the pool is now no longer, the building doesn't have to follow suit. Is there potential that any renovations that we're doing now could turn into the bathhouse and shower rooms for a campground situation and attendant? So that would make me feel much better, putting money into something that I know becomes an attraction in a public washroom, maybe for our facilities and downtown visitors. So could that be something realistic?
Absolutely. There's lots of potential for reusing that facility if it's ever determined that we're going to go in a different direction.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'm satisfied with that. Next on the list, unless anyone else wants to talk about showers. Okay, good.
I want window.
Oh, we know, I like you. Let's have that talk too. Administration signage, Cindy says absolutely no. Well, you'll have to pay for it yourself, she said. I read her mind. 8,000 from reserves. For signage, what kind of signage you guys want? Gold, platinum, what are we going with?
They're super funny, because I asked that same question when Vin was showing me this budget.
All right, what are we looking at? This is all Newtown signage, I assume, but I'll let you tell us.
Yeah, so through the chair, I think this is an incomplete thought at the moment. We are aware or do realize that Diamond Valley is not represented as you roll into town on any access that you come into. And it was something that Monique and I were going to collaborate on, and with the assistance of Corinne Middleton, before she left, we were sort of working towards something in this regard, but we unfortunately have not been able to complete this thought, other than to say that we do need to come up with something to resolve our entrance features. And I suspect we probably want to do maybe a community engagement. I don't know. But that's specifically.
Yeah, I think this one needs a bit of a strategic discussion.
Absolutely.
Because I have some really artistic ideas on what that could look like, and I know that the community is full of artists. And if we're gonna rebrand, we can do some very, very interesting and unique things to really make us stand out.
Oh, we've got rebranding done.
Well, and this is it. So if you take, if you own Black Diamond, just to give you an idea. And you have the black metal cutouts, the diamond and the little silhouette of Memphis or whatever, and a horse. You could take that, explode it by 20 feet. And put one of those on each end of town. And now you're talking, people are stopping to take photos. Because that is unique. So I think this is a worthy discussion for sure. What it looks like, I think really needs a lot of work in terms of public engagement. Some thoughts around how unique we want to get and what we want to throw at it. But essentially the brand is there. So,
Agreed.
Council, do we want to bring some money forward now? It is identified 70 grand out of reserves, is that right? Or just 93?
And currently, we have only 9,700 in reserve, but we
Okay.
need 70,300 additional.
Well, I would suggest, council, and totally up for debate here, that's what we're here for. Let's allocate some money this year, even though we don't have a firm plan, but let's put it forward so that we're putting some money towards it, so we're not taking the bigger hit later. Heather?
Would any of our grants work for this? Don't know, because I don't remember, nor do I know what LGFF includes or MFI anymore.
We did try looking at the requirements, but it is not fitting in MSI or CCBF. However, there is an option which we are not 100% sure. There is a new amount going to come in LGFF operating fund, which is they only allocated 124,146. So probably we can look that option, which we will get a clear picture in May somewhere.
Yeah, and the only thing that we've got coming out of that, I would think, is the upgrade here. Would that not be under that? Could that not be under the MSI operating side? I can't remember what we did for that. Audiovisual reserve. We've got it pegged for 30,000, reserve 5,000, balance from MSI 25,000.
That's for light up sign over.
But I think that that could be out of the operating, the LVFF operating side. Could it not? Because I know that we utilized it in the past to buy new computers and stuff. So it would be interesting to find out if we could use that for the signage. But
Okay.
it's kind of a fine line because it's profitable, but it's, yeah.
Which, yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, my recommendation would be is that we allot that this is what we want to do with funding to be determined and have an RFT come back to council with some ideas.
Yeah.
And if I can speak to that in our EDC meeting, our year end, we're looking ahead at our next plans. And as I've mentioned, Travel Alberta is looking on investing huge money into this area. And EDAC would love to move forward with marketing and having some signage that equates to our new brand, I think would be ideal to work it all together. So my advice would keep it in and have an RFT come back as soon as possible so that we can get the ball rolling on
And
it.
start searching.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
So
I
for
like
the full
that.
amount of 80,000, just leave it in for now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm good with that.
Okay, Heather, Hazel? Nope. Ronnie? Yep. Good, okay. I love how you roll. Yep, do it. Very, very, very satisfying to see that. You go ahead. Perfect. Okay, Bailey Lift Station, no, we got the Main Street four-way stop lane south Sunset to Cockins Sanitary. The lane south of Sunset to Cockins Sanitary. That one's been on there before. That only services about 6 residents, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm gonna let you tell us all about
Is
it.
that okay? So contribute.
Yeah, from the four-way stop in Diamond Valley West to the south towards DeKalta and Calkins. This was brought forward because it keeps popping up on the 10-year, 20-year capital plan. If you recall, probably in 2017, 2018, this came forward out of concern of pedestrian safety for pedestrians exiting the Kelta Trail, walking up Main Street to the downtown core. There was no sidewalks, no pedestrian right-of-ways along that road. So what was happening is residents were walking on the shoulder, and at the time that road was a lot narrower. If you recall, Andy Pfeiffer was tasked with coming up with a costing for installing or improving that roadway for pedestrian access. At that time, he considered it as a road improvement, widening to add curb, gutter, storm sewer, and sidewalk all the way down, so it just all blended in. That got pushed back, and then we ended up with the road widening with the delineators with the bits of trail that there now exists. It wasn't the greatest solution, but it was a solution. I feel that this came back around just simply because with the newer developments being proposed, Far Brewery, a lot more traffic potentially heading in that direction. I thought this might be a relevant time to pitch this again, and this would be another road improvement, a widening improvement. All those homes along there, the church included, are all on septic. They do have water. There is ditch rather than storm. And again, the pedestrian access is still outstanding.
Go to Jonathan first, and I have to follow thought after that. Jonathan?
You know, I think this is actually a good idea to do it this year, only because there potentially is some, hopefully some development happening to the west of this in the Everwood area.
Mhm.
So I know John has to come down eventually. So I think, and I bike through there so often. I would love to see this done. There's that has seen increased traffic in the last 2 summers. And I think I see Constable Hogan or Officer Hogan nodding his head. There's a lot more traffic coming through there now. So here again, I think this would be a good move to move forward with this. That's my opinion.
Yeah, my thought on that one, I've been against it in the past because it only services a very small number of residents, and I think 6 is actually the right number to get them onto our actual sewage. But it's not necessarily about the sewage. This is one of those preventative maintenance issues where if Everwood takes off, there's already a plan that shows the 4-way intersection just at the base of that hill and the tie-ins to that location. As well as Barberry's expansion down in that neck of the woods. If we wait and put this off, then potentially we're going to be tearing something up when it's the busiest possible time. Whereas right now, to get a contractor in, it's probably the easiest. So using foresight, this might be the best time to do this. And that also encourages development to come into the Everwood, simplifying that process. So that's my thoughts on that. I agree with Councillor Gordon. This one, as strange as it is, could be an imperative for future growth. I'll go Hazel and Heather.
No, Dr. Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Hazel. I totally am for this, and to me, that road is so freaking dangerous. The way it is, it's horrible. So I totally agree with this for all the reasons that have been mentioned.
Okay. Hazel?
I'm gonna ask this question. It's gonna also be for the First Avenue Northwest. Will we be implementing local improvement levy on both of these projects?
That's a council decision. That's a council decision. So if we want to, that's a council decision. That's not for them.
By bylaw, so.
So.
Okay,
yeah.
so who brings back the bylaw? The men?
So as the council is interested in imposing a local improvement tax, that would have to be council's direction, and then there'd be a bylaw specific to that.
So do we ask for that now?
That's a good one for Carrie to answer. Carrie, when would you want those questions asked? At what point in the process do you come to us and say, here's your numbers, here's your funding fee structures, here's your available resources, here's your grants, X, Y, Z? Give us a little clarity on that.
Yeah, so there is a proposal today that the Main Street stop could potentially be funded through MSI. So there is grant funding in place. If you didn't want the grant funded and you wanted to levy it against the property owners, you could through local improvement levy. It would be assessed against all benefiting properties, which, as the conversation has gone, you very astutely noticed Everwood sitting in there. And that would obviously benefit very greatly from this upgrade. But again, there is some grant funding that's been identified before you for that project.
Could you use both the local improvement and the MSI? Because I'm thinking because in Turner Valley on this side, we have done local improvement levies.
Mhm.
So I think just going forward, just consistency, that any area that is upgraded, they do get the local improvement levy charge.
It is an option. It is allowable in local improvements to do a mix. So if the grant covers 90%, then you would take the remainder
The
typically
10%, yeah.
and assess it against, or if the grant covered 50, you take the remainder.
Okay, Heather, follow up and then sit.
Yeah, I just wonder because that, again, we're going to, wow, that's what the Diamond Valley or Turner Valley used to do. And so are we gonna do the same, start doing the same now over in Black Diamond for First Ave Northwest to Second Street? I think that maybe not. Plus, the benefiting owners for off-site levies are very minimal right now, so it'd be a huge cost if you apply 10% to those individuals that are right there. So I wouldn't suggest that we go that route now. However, I would like to know, so when I calculate actually we'll get down to.
Yeah, let's focus on.
I'm good with this one, absolutely good with this one.
Yeah, and if I may, this road is, when we're talking about local levies, this is a commuter road, this isn't a residential. So this benefits anyone that lives in Bailey, Royal Heights, down in Calkins. And so it's tough to say who benefits from the road. I mean, the residents that are on that street really, yes, of course they benefit somewhat, but they'd be hit hard for such a small tax base that you'd be focusing on.
Hit hard.
Cindy, and then I am gonna come to you for clarity, because I do want to clarify his.
Yeah, I think we need to have a larger discussion on the local improvement levies. I've hated them from the moment I heard about them. And I think we did need a better infrastructure plan, asset management, what we were talking about, and do something that's equal for everyone. Yeah, Gert. This potential project, that trail that temporary fix or whatever was like the worst decision of this council, and I'm still mad about it, and I drive that road every day. Every day. It was not at all what council thought we were approving. So I will say that I am very sorry that we didn't just go ahead and do this at the beginning. And we would have had we known.
It cost $265,000.
No, it was 670, I think, or something in that area at the time, so it hasn't really changed that much. But unfortunately, we put $100 and some thousand into this temporary fix that has been a headache, I'm sure, fixing those things that I won't say whether I've hit or not.
I invite you for a snowplow ride.
My only worry is doing it this year, because I do think that all these developments, I think we've got a couple of years. Yeah, but everyone else seems to be, I hate ripping up good concrete when we've got people with gravel roads still. That bothers me, and I don't know, because we've got a lot of other projects, and I don't know that this is actually the worst. Because we haven't done our sewer scopes and water leaks on the east side. So I hate to spend $750,000 when we know money's tight, and then next year we're like, oh, we really wish we had that money for, whatever we discover is actually the worst. So,
yeah, and there are no current services in that roadway beyond Kennedy. So we would be extending Kennedy down to Calkins for sewer and being able to tie homes in. And that would be the only infrastructure benefit, other than a storm, that we would, we'd get rid of those ditches and you'd have a sidewalk. That would be the primary benefit to that road, but I don't disagree that could be postponed another year.
But that would be right down to the intersection, so that Everwood would tie in when the time comes.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, so it would be intended to go all the way from the four-way straight to the Calkins intersection.
So right down that road.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Before I go to Veronica, I do want to get clarity on the offsite levy potential. That an extension of this type that does pass the tie-in intersection of a future Everwood Phase 3, would that development qualify for the 10% as Councillor Martin stipulated? No. Yeah, because they benefit
Offsite levies, yes.
the community improvement.
Yeah.
Similar.
So, local improvement levies, again, are assessed against benefiting properties. As the conversation continued, again, it's very difficult to assess that on a collector road. That portion services a lot of development. It would be my recommendation that council maybe looks at that as a benefit to the community. Additionally, I'd like to remind you that local improvement levies, if you decide to go that route, they are petitionable. And
Yeah, we've had it.
yeah, just a reminder.
Yep, nope. Great, that's good clarity. That's what I wanted to hear. Let's go Veronica and then we're good. Veronica.
Is this project shovel ready? You've already mapped it out, you have your engineering drawing.
No.
Okay,
There was some preliminary work done back when Andy Pfeiffer investigated this, so some of that work is still sitting on in the MPE's files, so yes, it wouldn't be too much to dust off, but it wouldn't take much to be shovel ready.
okay, well, I'm fine with this one. I don't like postponing infrastructure improvements. They all need to be redone, so let's do it.
All right, moving on, next one down. We're gonna give that a thumbs up. Bailey Lift Station SCADA system, 24 grand. That's pretty standard for SCADA systems. Anything specific why this one? Does it just come of age? I think Wendy knew 10 years ago when I first got in council, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so if you recall, the Turner Valley Council has seen this one probably once or twice in the past, even as far back as Andy Pfeiffer's time. At the time, there was electrical panels, some other pump upgrades, PLC upgrades, and the SCADA system upgrade. Maybe unfortunate or really fortunate, it was hit with lightning 2 years ago. So we were forced to replace the PLC and the power panel because they exploded. But we now have a SCADA system that is, the sensors are no longer working properly, so we get false signals all the time.
Did insurance cover the exploding infrastructure?
Yes, some of it. That's good.
See, exciting times been before your time. Very exciting. I know, we go around with lightning rods and say, you know what needs replacing? Right there.
So yeah, the original ask a number of years ago was, I believe, 90,000.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is just for the SCADA.
Yeah, it's good. Good, council?
Good, yeah.
Next one up, sidewalk improvement expansion. So this is on top of the 60 grand that we previously allocate, I'm assuming? Or is this 75 grand only?
This is one I fight every year.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to remember this.
So if you recall, just before COVID, I believe it was 2019, a sidewalk improvement plan was presented by Gary Malenka for 75,000 per year for a 5-year period. And it was based on the pedestrian safety task force recommendations. If you ever walk from Sunset Boulevard north to the school, there's only one street, George, which has sidewalk on it. Every other street has no sidewalks crossing from John, Robert, and so on. So all those children cross Sunset Boulevard and then are walking down the streets because there are no sidewalks until they get down to George. So it was presented and it was actually approved in 2019. And then of course, COVID and a lot of other uncertainties kind of hit us and this project got deferred. So it's just sitting on the books as, I guess, undecided or not moving forward. So this is just coming forward for another kick.
Let's go Hazel.
I thought we had agreed to not proceed with any sidewalk improvements until the pedestrian safety committee was formed.
Load out of that.
The reason we're gonna redo it.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna redo it. I thought there was a discussion.
Yeah, so if I may, through the chair, Councillor Martin, like I said, this recommendation comes from a previous pedestrian safety task force, and it was originally intended for Turner Valley. Again, I don't believe that a new pedestrian safety task force would deem this scenario any different.
No.
I thought it would be fair, the whole meeting.
And I believe that that's still intended, but, this is just a portion that we're still abstaining.
If I could speak to this one, I would fully agree that any pedestrian safety task force, the first option is gonna be to look at what was done by the previous one and see the valid explanations as to why those things were presented and approved. We do need to get the kids off the streets in those zones. And if Everwood is gonna expand, then every little bit's gonna help in the long run heading for Turner Valley School. So for me, I have no problem keeping this one on, but I'd like to hear from council a yay, nay, so we can just move on from this one and get on to this great big $3.2 million one. So Jonathan, sidewalk improvement expansion, keep on or off?
I'd say we keep it on.
Cindy,
So yeah,
off? I'm on,
We don't have to spend it, we can just spend it.
on, Hazel,
Off.
off,
On,
okay, on it stays. Okay, thank you. Road sewer, First Ave Northwest, from Third Street to Government Road. Councilor Clymer, can you defend this one for us here?
Yeah, are you adding that little portion of First Avenue Northeast as well?
First Avenue Northeast.
Otherwise it'll be forgotten forever and ever and ever and ever.
So if I may, thank you, Councillor Clover. Through the chair, the original request for this project through Urban was to do a 3-block section of First. And once I started reviewing sort of the priority list, there's a number of portions of infrastructure within the municipality that have high ratings of priority. Those 3 blocks were the highest of the priority on this portion, and then the ends, the remaining 2 blocks on the east and on the west were also high in the rating, but had been sort of secondary to the primary. And I just feel we're going in there. Let's do the whole 5 blocks in, out, done, and move on to the next project. And then we're not coming back 20 years later to do the ends.
Just that's fifth to First.
That is the entirety of First, from the community garden down to Fast Gas.
Google map, maybe, with the phone up. I've got my Google Maps in front of me. But I'd really like to put it up here on the board so you can point it out, because I think I understand exactly what you're saying, because these side roads are all just dirt roads.
Yeah.
And they really should be completed up to the community gardens all the way over. The back cul-de-sac, whatever,
That's all.
what is it, loop, what do you want to
That's all
call it?
paved, that's just.
So
Exactly, that's beautiful.
So infrastructure aside, the road surfaces are a combination of some gravel, but they've been coated in an SB 90 product. And the problem is, we can't fix potholes properly anymore because we can't just simply grade the road. So,
Google Earth is a good one if you can pull that on.
Thank
We're
you.
getting there.
I couldn't remember what it was.
You don't have Google Earth?
Oh, I have all of my info.
That's what I do too.
And everything. May I interject, one point on top of
Yeah, you bet.
this conversation?
That's the one. Yeah, from planning perspective.
Yeah,
sure.
in terms of different developers and pre-application meetings that planning has been having, even just since I got here over the past 3 months. There is no water in a block of First. And that is causing some major issues.
so this block of First Ave, this is where the hill is, on First Ave. There's no water, so water tees at this intersection goes each way here, but does not extend here, and water comes through here. So there's no connection or loop. So what this causes is reduced water pressure, restricts us as far as isolating water breaks, because now we don't have a loop. And then currently there's some development requests for two lots there that we have to make some special accommodations to get them water if we don't finish this. So the project intends to replace sewer and water
Yes, show
from
us.
here
Yeah,
to this corner here. This is fast gas right there.
yeah, yeah.
So this would be the playground and there's the empty lots that are also looking to be developed. So on this block, there's sidewalk. No sidewalk, no sidewalk, sidewalk, no sidewalk. So this project would replace sewer, water, any broken curb gutter, and there's a lot of it in here. It would include the installation of sidewalk for these 3 blocks. And then, of course, once we button this project up, we would pave this entire.
Full script. Ms. Forzo.
Another thing that came forward in our East Side Development Review meeting today with affected parties is adequate hydrant coverage in that portion of town. So allowing that water looping actually gives us the ability to increase hydrant and fire coverage
That's right.
as well, which is pretty important.
Mhm. Heather.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, I'm all for this one. However, I wonder, like, so this year we're using $977,000 of MSI funding. I wonder if we can apply. We've got, what's it? 3 million available. I'd like to see that debenture knocked down by at least 500,000 using MSI funding. I think a combination of debenture and MSI funding would be appropriate for this project.
That's the question I have, if I may. Are we, because it's listing the funding source tonight, are we approving that as the determinate funding source? Or is that still open for discussion?
Oh, it's open for discussion.
Yeah.
But we need to approve it.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is open for discussion. Because I agree with what Heather's saying there. I mean, we can't just sock in 3.2 into venture there and say good with it, no.
No, we should be utilizing that MSI
And reserves.
and
Reserve.
yeah,
Agree.
if possible.
Okay, so let's have that discussion. Hazel.
I'm gonna go back to the local improvement levy. Would you apply that to this? This, 5 block stretch?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. Absolutely. I mean, that's council's prerogative. I would caution because you can petition a local levy. If the residents decide to petition this, we will not get this project done this year.
Okay, well, I would like to go down the road. Just because a petition doesn't mean we, as a council, have to accept that and close it down. It's just a petition.
No, if they petition the local improvement,
Mhm.
you cannot collect local improvement.
So
Okay,
I'd rather see us go with the,
It kills that.
combination of
that would happen.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that.
MSI and reserves. So I'd like to look to administration to figure that out, but I'd like to see this project go forward. I'd like to see the combination go forward. A full debenture on this is a lot of money, and that applies to our operating budget, so let's look at applying 500 from MSI and then take a look at applying,
We have reserves.
applying some reserves to it.
Gonna go to Cindy before we do. I was going to go down the table first, and follow up on Councilor Martin's, offsite levy. What is the term? Local improvement, thank you, levy. Because I am in favor of that as well as Councilor Martin, but I think we just need to go down the table first and get some consensus for or against the local improvement levies. Against, Hazel?
Well, I'm for.
For?
Sort of on the fence about the topic itself. I'm okay passing the capital budget that will see me have a pecuniary interest in because it affects so many people, but the local improvement tax, I'm a little iffy. I feel if we pursue this conversation, I might have to recuse myself.
Okay. just in general for the whole community, not that street, do you like the idea of local improvement levies? Okay, let's take it at that. Jonathan?
You know, of the community our size, I'm not sure that local improvement levies are the best way to go about funding this. The overall improvement of infrastructure in the town impacts each of us. And it improves our quality of life. It improves our potential value of our properties. I'm not sure it's the right path to take. I know since I've been on council since 2017, we've not had a project where we've applied improvement tax levies. That was done,
The Windsor Avenue.
that was prior to 2017. And so when we did sunset here, because it was impacting more than what was sunset, we determined not to. So I think because it's very hard to quantify what's being improved and putting that on just adjacent properties, I think makes the equation a little bit less of a solid formula that I could support. So I really don't, I really have to review that a bit more and do a lot more research on my own. But if I were to be put on the spot tonight,
That's what
I would say not in this instance, because we're looking at 5 blocks. We're looking at how it benefits the community in general. So I would say no to this project.
Thank you. Cindy?
I'm 100% against local improvement levies. I think it's a backwards, old-fashioned way of doing things. I think we have never applied them on the east side. So I think that we will get a lot of resistance to the idea. They're not used to it. And I think that we have bigger infrastructure problems and bigger needs for asset management that needs to be taken as a whole and not on this case by case, having this come up every time we do a street. Oh, who does it affect? Who does it not? If everyone, goes up for walks with their dogs and enjoys the property values that come from increasing infrastructure throughout town. So I'm happy to have it. I was actually had some ideas and thoughts that for the February cow on that. So I think we can discuss more then. But yeah, and as far as the funding for this project too, that's why I was not in favor of the Main Street one, because that's 750 using MSI. Like we have limited resources. If it's not an emergency, like this one, I think is an emergency. We do it until we have a plan and we know what the emergencies are. I don't think we should be doing nice to haves. So
We do know where our emergent sections are, and certainly Main Street is not one of those. That's a nice to have versus a necessity. And I'd like to add just to your arguments, and I agree wholeheartedly, that water line really impacts all residents. That's lost that all residents are paying for.
All right, okay, so the, Carrie,
No.
all right,
Oh,
okay, go ahead.
I just wanted a quick. The local improvement levies. As you go further into the discussions and applications, they're really great for if 10 homeowners want to pave their back lane. They're really great for dead end cul-de-sacs, where it's very, very clear who the benefiting properties are. When we deal with a 5-block chunk of sidewalks and water and hydrants, it's much, much more difficult to allocate the benefiting properties.
He's figured out since.
There you go. Okay, so I asked that question because I wanted to put to bed the local improvement levies. Council has majority saying no, so let us not entertain that further. I would like to now revisit, because we are all in favor of the First Ave Northwest to 3rd Street as presented here. We'll now go back to discuss the Main Street 4-way stop, MSI allocation of 750. As Councillor Holiday was under her breath kind of saying this should probably happen in this format. We'll open that up. Do we want to scratch that as a not priority, focusing on the 3.2 million as a priority and allocating 750,000 to that? Before I go there, but now I've laid the table of where I want to go, Veronica wanted to make a comment before we finish it up. So.
I don't know if this will help, but First Avenue is a huge thoroughfare. Being a
Mhm.
resident on that street, it is the bypass for, I'd say, half our residents.
Let's make it nice.
Yeah.
Okay, Heather, did you want to finish up on the local improvement levy thought before I?
Well, I just wanted to add, we have had in Turner Valley a petition that went through, so. You know, it's tough to go there anymore, and I totally agree with Carrie, it's kind of an old fashioned thing, it worked really great. As they didn't call it a local improvement tax then, they called it a special tax. And that's how Turner Valley had all of its streets paid. Everybody across the board paid that tax, everybody in town. That's how they paved the streets in Turner Valley 35 years ago.
1980, so about 40.
Yeah, so anyway, I think it's gone the way of the dodo bird and this particular project, I think because of the water issue and everything. I don't agree with the local improvement levy. But going back to the Main Street four-way stop, I'd be all right with dropping that one and applying the $750,000 MSI plus more MSI money to that, plus the reserve money. We can get away from
Got to.
operating costs by means of debentures. I mean, we do have some debentures that are dropping off in 24, 25, but still, you know, like, we're gonna have some more projects that we're gonna have to, if we,
Yeah.
you know, so I'd like to see the funding options.
Okay, so 750,000 going once. Councillor Gordon started off, then Cindy, then Veronica.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate Councillor Holiday's perspective on that, and if we can drop it off this year and put it on to next year, I think that's the best way to go. And very quickly, debentures. I don't mind debentures if we're investing something that adds an amenity with potential revenue increase to it. Putting debentures into infrastructure replacement is always a challenge for me, and I always kind of just putting replacement onto debt and onto credit. I just don't like doing that. So as much as we can reduce that debenture outlook, the better.
Great point, very great point. Thank you. Cindy?
I'm totally worried about the amount of stuff, increased costs that we have coming forward, because we have, Shrek is gonna come after us for some money for the intake. Probably gonna be million. We've got West End coming up, we'll have a debenture from that. So absolutely, if we don't have to do it, let's not do it. And use our MSI, yeah, absolutely. I'd rather take Main Street and some reserve money. And put towards
So we'll go with the project, but we need you to figure out where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
Veronica, you had your mic on. I'm just looking, where's our reserve?
That's on a diagram.
Yeah,
That's something like 8.1. That's on one of the slides, right?
Veronica, did you want to comment on this one? If not, I think we, as a council, have taken the first five and we've stick handled those appropriately. However, I would like to talk reserves in regard to the 3.2 that's presented. If we're going to slide 750 down, we now have a new number of 2.45 million.
It's the second last slide there. Do you keep going? You see there's zero in the middle.
So what feasibly could we take from reserves?
Mhm.
And allocate to this?
Page 119 in your package.
Operating reserve 2.5, capital reserve 8. Right?
Yeah, reserves are, capital reserves are 8.8, basically 8 million.
Yeah.
But then some of those are allocated.
So thoughts? Yeah,
get
go
on the
ahead.
soapbox.
Yep, get on that soapbox.
The whole point of reserves is not to just keep reserves. The
No.
point is to
Use them.
be using them and replacing them and having a system for that, which is why we're having utility rate
Taxpayers'
conversation.
money.
But I know people on, especially the east side, have it because there has been huge reserves over there, not huge, but large reserves being sat there while they've been crying for streets to be upgraded. So I'm happy putting
2.45.
a lot, you know. It was going quite a bit.
estimated, it was going to go before amalgamation, it was slated to be built the next year. For 2023. They're slated to be the capital project. The Black Diamond. And it was 1.3 million was the estimate. It was all to come out of reserves.
That whole stretch?
We're pretty.
Okay, good.
It's not, and it was before everything went a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, cost and whatnot.
So it wasn't that 1.3 was a crazy number, it's at different parameters.
Okay.
Isn't,
Go ahead.
isn't this technically, we're doing a sidewalk improvement, we're adding sidewalks, so we have 75 grand adding sidewalks. Yes, I know that was supposed to be on the west side, but can we just focus on this road for this year? Just do it right, do the whole thing, take the money out of reserves. And this is our big, rather than spreading out projects.
Different days on.
Yeah, but this, it's different grants that I'm using. And reserves, like, so for the sidewalks, not the CCDF. You can't use that for only certain things, so.
Oh, and what can you use CCBF? Can you use it for, yeah, can you use it?
What qualifies for CCBF?
So we can use for road construction. That is one of the primary area for CCC.
There you go. That qualifies.
That's all.
So if you're gonna use the whole research, or if you're gonna use the portion of reserves for the street, then could you use MSI for the Sunset or Main Street?
You know, that would be,
Moving it back.
that would be moved
We're
down.
gonna remove it.
For 2026.
Next year.
Yeah, right now, Main Street's four-way stop is bumped off the list and the 750,000 allocated for that moves on to the 3.2 million.
The rest of it usually is.
Do we have, is there any financial difference between banking MSI or CCBF versus using reserves? Like, do they give us the MSI money in advance and we park it in GICs? Like, which are we best to max out and spend all of our MSI CCBF on these projects and not touch reserves?
So I would say that yes, because there is a 5-year gap. We need to use the grant amount within the 5 years. Currently, that's the period they are looking for. So I would say we should utilize wherever the MSI and CCBF is available currently. And rest, then we will look at the reserve.
Because we have carried over MSI from previous years. So can you I don't know if we can do the calculations tonight. Can we just use all of MSI CCBF on this project and then see what we have left
Yeah,
over?
so currently we have 565,000 plus a round number in CCBF, and in MSI there is 649,000.
So over $1 million.
Yeah.
We could
And
use.
if we are taking out that 750,000, that will be adding with that, then it will be total 1.14 for reserve.
Other research.
No, 1.8 million of MSI.
And CCBF, yeah.
Okay.
And the balance amount we need to look into the reserve.
1.4 from reserve.
Why don't we just spend all of our MSI CCBF and then dip into reserves
On this project.
on this project?
Great idea.
And let's focus on it. Don't do any more sidewalk improvements. Don't do Main Street until the next year.
So we have to do the hydrant repairs.
Yeah, we gotta do hydrant, we gotta do.
That's what we have to do.
Skate out.
No, I'm just talking about engineering structures. Yeah, I'm not touching anything that we haven't talked about yet. I'm just talking about the
So
750.
when you say CPBF, you take it all, the other
No,
ones.
no, not machinery and equipment. I'm talking about engineering structures only. But we are doing the SCADA, we are doing the signs.
That's where. it's
Yeah,
Misunderstanding. So that's fine.
Sorry.
We can clarify that. That's easy. Okay. So again, we don't have to pass capital budget here right now, right? This can be draft 2. Right? Send some information back. So you're getting the gist of what we're laying down. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so let's move on from this one and wait for draft 3 to come back with some of those funding streams. I think we've been pretty clear on how we want to roll. Let's go on to fire generator hall approved. Good?
Yeah.
Good.
I want
open this up. Oh, no, don't give him faith, don't give him faith, it's not on me.
I feel like I wanna ask for more.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Seriously though, we have 45,000, what type of generator is this? Is it a big diesel, or do you have a solar powered one? Cause by 2035, there's no gas engines allowed in the country.
For Craig to speak more credit to, so this was the replacement.
This is the facility, replacements or cost. So as I understand, that generator has not functioned properly for about 2 years.
Oh,
We have been unable to allocate or find parts for it. It is an old diesel generator that's been sitting there dysfunctional. We've been working to try and find parts, have not been able to get them. And honestly, it's old anyways, so if we replace it with a natural gas generator, we no longer need to maintain diesel tanks and so on and so forth, and it's just due for replacement anyways.
okay. Just to be small devil's advocate, in terms of, things in emergency field nature, I can get a generator that runs on natural gas or diesel, flip the switch.
Yep.
If this new one is only for natural gas, someone blows up a gas line, and you flip a switch to a diesel, right? So in the emergency management field, I would like to see that backup level. And so I just want to make sure we can allocate the funds. You guys can do that homework and find out, okay, yeah, we got a model that fits that bill. That's it.
So it would be rare for a natural gas line not to be supplying gas unless it's immediately in that neighborhood, because like water, you can isolate valves and it's usually wrap around. So it's rare that you have a natural gas incident where you can't supply your generator. However, even if that generator was not able to get natural gas, we do have 4 or 5 portable generators that we could plug in if needed.
Yep, good. Okay, council, thumbs up.
Yep.
Good. Audio visual replacement upgrade. I'm definitely gonna go over here to the audio visual specialist.
So then I would really like you to look into MSI operating being applied to this, because I think we can use that instead of our MSI capital.
This,
So the 124, 146, if you could look in to see if this could be operating versus capital.
Yeah, that's an option, yes,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
So I'd like to see us do that for this one, so it would be MSI operating funding.
Okay. Because we are getting 124,000 for the corporation operating.
Yeah.
budget.
okay, and this
So-
falls in that realm.
Yes,
Council chambers.
it totally does, and Ben just confirmed that, so,
Perfect.
yeah, so MSI operating for this one versus MSI capital.
Okay, excellent.
With the new name, LGFF.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you.
All right.
Gives us another 25,000 to go to the,
That's right. Well, like I say, it is taxpayer money, and if it's sitting there and we can save them money by spending it, let's do it. Speed radar signs and LED stop signs, we talked about this a few meetings ago. Let's just give that the thumbs up, council. I don't get much discussion here. Thank you. Backup generator, water tower. I really want that diesel one. I can't stress that enough, you know what I'm saying? Backup generator, water tower.
which one?
Oh,
Well, there's only one water tower.
so,
Black Diamonds, got a pump.
sorry, did we skip over speed radar?
We're good.
We're good. Okay. Sorry, I didn't stop. So the water tower. So in Black Diamond, or sorry, Diamond Valley East, you see that very ugly structure on the end of town.
It's unique.
There is a reservoir in grounds at that location, so for anyone that doesn't already know this, that water tower is not functional. It is just for show. The building that is adjacent to that water tower houses the controls, the pumps, and a backup generator in the event that power shuts off. That generator is the size of a Volkswagen. It's diesel. It has outside tanks. We have a lot of maintenance that we need to do on that annually, twice a year. We have to swap the diesel in, swap the diesel back, keep it fresh.
Yeah.
It cycles through. Just basically life cycle of this generator. We can upgrade it to when we replace it, we upgrade it to a natural gas. We can eliminate about $7,000 worth of annual labor doing checks on diesel and
take away the contamination.
Yeah.
As well.
That would be the recommendation, is to upgrade that to natural gas.
Sums up or down? Up, done, good. Funding mechanism, 15,000 from reserve, 50 from.
It doesn't add up.
So I only adds up to 65. You wanted 75? You saying you can do it for 65? Sold for 65. Oh, too late now. We've spoken.
Well, the generator, the fire hall technically only costs 45, so I'm
You know what?
wondering.
Can you put it on a
You
small
get one
$1,500 trailer and just bring it back?
Actually, we may be able to get a deal.
Well, I'm just wondering why there is a different cost, so.
Well, the simple answer to that is the generator at the fire hall, the requirements for that are considerably lower. Really, you're running a couple of key electrical points and your doors. With the pumps at the water reservoir, these are very massive pumps that draw a lot of power.
Yeah.
And that generator is, like I said, the size of a Volkswagen versus the size of a large cooler.
Yeah.
So
tell them to throw in the fire one for free.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
And I don't disagree. I'm certain that because they're together, I'm sure I could probably work.
Hopefully the cost will be less than.
Are we good with that MSI 50 grand, guys, or do we wanna
It's,
slide it over?
It says 75,000 and then the kind of. You got reserves 15 and 50 MSI, so there's the difference.
Yeah, that should be 60.
It should be 65.
I agree. Just give them 60 total. Or 65,000 total. We're just gonna have to find this up in a deal for sale or something.
All right, good incentive.
We love them.
I do have a question. Is this whole, like, I don't know what the paperwork is when you have to report on MSI. Is it just easier to apply all the MSI to one project and then,
That's a good point.
We need to apply separate for each project.
but if it's the same amount of money, whether you, like, if we're taking money from reserves and taking money from MSI, staff time wise, is it easiest just to apply all the MSI to one big project rather than spreading, having to type out all the other ones that you're applying to and then just pay out of reserves for those? Like, I'm just trying to simplify your job. Yeah. Yeah, versus saying, oh, we spent it in all these different areas versus we just blow all the MSI out
Yeah.
first
Yeah, we can do that.
and then pull
Yeah.
from reserves for everything else.
It'd be like.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can, in draft 3 of the capital budget, Vin can work with the various staff members who have some of these projects. And the challenge is if we already have reserve allocations for specific things, then we would like to use those reserves
Yeah.
and the balance would come from MSI. But you do have a very valid point that we do have to do grant reporting, which can take some time. I would like to say arduous, but that is maybe a little extreme. And so point taken, and maybe we'll look at streamlining that a little bit for our benefit, as well as just making sure that we are using allocated reserves versus unallocated reserves in their proper locations.
Absolutely.
Okay,
let's-
that's why on my last page in the PowerPoint presentation that I have put a note there saying that we should look over the reserves because there are some restricted ones, there are some non-restricted ones, but the restricted ones are like clearly mentioning like it is only for generator, but generator is still running, so it will run for 10 years or so.
Yeah.
we can't take it out because of that particular condition. So
Yeah.
maybe we need to build up into the one category like fire department capital and operation, operating. And like, public works, probably capital and the operating, and same thing for the planning, all different departments. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep that line of thinking as we keep moving forward.
Yeah.
That would be great. Okay, quick and easy ones here. Hydrant replacement, 13 grand MSI. Thumbs up. Done. Pool PLC.
Well, other than
Yeah,
funding
yeah.
options need to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
approving the project, clean up the funding options for the
Yeah.
draft three.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
For all of them.
Yeah. So pool PLC, we discussed that CCBF funding stream. Being allocated to infrastructure, so again.
Clean it up.
But, pool PLC, so that one just needs
So,
upgrade.
so the PLC is the programmable logic controller, which has, so when water comes into the mechanical room, it offshoots into a chamber with some probes in it. And those probes measure the quality of the water. And then those probes through the computer determine how much chlorine or acid needs to go in based on temperature, water quality, and it just manually or automatically, adjusts the pool water quality throughout the day as it's operating. That PLC currently is 11 years old, and it's starting to give us some false data. So last year we replaced the probes, which are about $380 each, and that really didn't do much for our adjustments. So we know that our PLC is starting to go.
Thumbs up. Good. Kubota sweeper, 9 grand MSI. I don't know, thumbs up. I don't need an explanation. Clean the streets, good. I love it. Is that a big rig or is that just a small toolcat?
It's basically a 5-foot wide sweeper on the front of our UTV. We currently have 3 sweepers. We use them all, but this particular one is about to fall apart.
I'm good with that. Thumbs up, council?
Yep.
Good. Refrigeration replacement. We do have questions on this one. So, well, let's see, there's $500,000 in CCBF, but Hazel's got the questions posed for this one in regards to grants. So council, you guys are gonna have to put on your hats and think back to conversations as well.
Yeah, we asked them to apply for grants.
Yeah, so
That's what he did, and they couldn't find any up there.
is that correct?
Not entirely. Calgary Foundation, there was a grant applied for $100,000. Yet to hear a response on that one. And I believe that Les had applied for the FBM grant, and that was, I believe, for 50% of the project.
No, the FCM was 25% was granted and the balance of that, I believe, was a loan, so that didn't proceed.
Right.
And then I thought there was a CFAP. And I think I read,
I don't see any documentation of any other grants being applied for.
I think Minnick said it wasn't shovel ready. Is that correct? That's why it wasn't applied?
I don't recall.
I don't recall that.
Can we apply to CFAP?
I can look into it. I would imagine if Les didn't, there's probably a reason he didn't do that.
Yeah.
And then I apologize. This was a project that Les was wrapping up with his retirement. I am aware of the grant, some of the grants that he applied for, but I'm not sure why he wouldn't have for the CFEP unless there wasn't available for us. Sorry.
I think it was the eligibility.
Okay.
Municipal building.
Let's go to Heather first.
Veronica can kind of back me up on this one, see if I remember.
So
This is, was approved by Black Panther Council, and this is replacing a refrigeration system that was used when we got it, was donated by Conoco, or no. Excuse me? I don't know, I can't remember, but no, I didn't think that was who did it. Western Dakota, anyway, it has to be replaced. It is kind of imperative. If it goes, it's costing us thousands of dollars to run this antique. And I am so in favor of moving forward with this. And, like, I suspect that Les was good at applying for grants. He was very good for that. So he probably did try for what he could try for. And there is the reserve money that's slated for this there. And so I just want to go forward with this. Les also told us that this is gonna cut down our costs of running that arena, because the antique costs us a lot in electricity and stuff, so.
And I might add, so this, you're right, this one ice plant was, the pumps were donated from an oil company. Then that refrigeration system was at an old arena or rink that was in Black Diamond, and then repurposed again at the current location. In the beginning of the season, we had to replace a whole bunch of pumps on this thing because they weren't working properly. This capital project will replace 2 ice plants in favor of 1 that will run both ice surfaces. So yes, there will be some significant cost savings. The other side of this is the refrigerant that's currently used in that system is, no, it's not lethal, but it's becoming more difficult to acquire because they're trying to phase it out.
Cindy.
I thought when this came before, there was discussion, like, I'm totally in favor, it needs to be replaced, but I thought we were trying to see if the Scott Seaman ice plant could be used over at the curling rink. And then I thought there were some solar panels that were like, well, you can get solar panel grants, so we wanted the solar panels looked at too for grants.
Yeah.
So, but is this not including solar panels? This is just,
So yes, if I may, solar panel project was approved last year, I believe. I know it's in the books and it's been carried forward because it was left with me and I didn't have time to put a tender package. We did receive a grant from ATCO for a portion of that funding. So it was a $60,000 ask that was approved for new solar panel, or not new, but, well, yes, new, but to add to the current solar project. And that will contribute to some of the power reduction at the facility. The other part of this new ice plant has a heat recovery system in it. So any of the heat that's generated and that we're trying to dissipate to cool the rink off will be repurposed to heat certain spaces within the building, further reducing our expenses for heating and so on. So yes, there's a lot of energy processes in this new plant.
we did have to the curling rink.
Oh, sorry, yes, and the curling rink. We did have those discussions. I did have those initial discussions with the folks that manage and run that curling rink. And as much as they would love to have that unit, they wouldn't turn it down, but at the same time, it's not entirely ideal because the rink does not need as much cooling that our system can provide. And it makes it really difficult for them to properly control their ice surfaces because it would be linked to the overall system. So I think the solution was, if approved, the new cooling system would go, or ice plant would go in, the condenser and some of from the SSR would be repurposed at the curling rink so that they would have direct control of their ice quality.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. So you can salvage some SSR stuff. Is that
Absolutely.
that you were
It,
And it is helpful to the zoning.
yeah, it's far larger than the capacities that they require. However, because it'd be a separate unit, they would be able to sort of throttle that down.
Carry, and then we'll move on.
Perfect. Through the mayor, do you want a quick information about why we didn't get CFAP? Because municipalities aren't eligible to apply.
He's busy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's-
Municipality county.
Yeah.
We do, the
Municipalities
library
can.
it's on board.
It's his own
Yeah.
word.
Excuse me, just to add to that, we do have a history of working with nonprofits that would be eligible and be able to apply in that way, but at this particular time, it's also about quite a long turnaround time, and it hasn't been explored to that
perfect.
level.
Perfect, please. Good. Okay, refrigeration, thumbs up. That's good. Let's get her done. And let's take a 5-minute break. Ladies and gentlemen, we just approved the last one on our line. So moving on to our next
10 years.
10-year.
Well, I don't know that there's much
Much
there
there, yeah.
because it's just laying it out, but we do have to move that 750
Yeah, move it to
to
next year.
next year.
Yeah.
So,
That should come back to us.
Anything not approved, it's automatically get it on the next year.
So we haven't approved that 750. Other than that, everything is good.
Everything's good.
Everything is good. 750, we want to see.
And the
Some
sidewalk,
of the funding sources.
75,000 for sidewalk, we're adding sidewalk. We did something.
two are out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we want that sliding down to the first half.
Okay.
Yep, we're gonna come back to draft 3 with clearly identified funding streams.
Yes.
That we can say, yes, 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 yes.
I can give a rough estimate right now even because we have the balance in the CCBF, which is the last column.
In your
The
future.
paper,
Yep.
which is the 565,000. So let's round it to 500,000.
Sure.
And the other one, the next one is 649, it is 600,000. And we have taken out the 750,000 plus the 75,000.
So it'd be better looking at
So-
1.2 from reserves.
Yeah, all together will comes to 1.9 million.
Yeah.
And then we are looking for 3.2 million, then we have a difference of 1.275, which we need to take it out from the reserve.
That's, to me, that's a win right there.
That is totally acceptable.
And then any small low hanging fruit projects that come up can be pulled in reserve if need be, but at least it's not coming on the tax. bill.
But that's gonna be adjusted because we're taking some of the MSI, CCBF stuff, pulling them from reserve and then just throwing.
Yeah.
Just make your accountants.
Yeah, and
Okay, so now come back to draft 3.
yeah, I want to finish the CCCB, CCBM and the MSI wherever it is possible because there is a 5-year limit, so
Yeah.
we should utilize that.
10-year, right here, it's on the board. Little hard to see. Have a look there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, this is a projection. So this isn't like, oh my gosh, next year we're gonna get hammered. But it does give us a good forecast.
Which one are we? There's several pages.
We're looking at 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right to 34. This isn't a massive discussion. This is more of, it's a forecast.
Yeah.
Is there anything on here in the next 5 years? I'll preface it this way. In the next 5 years, is there anything on here that's absolutely gonna destroy us?
The new buildings.
New buildings are a whole different ball.
Yeah. I wanted to make a note here, so two amounts, I hadn't put it here. One is after the assessment, the upgrade for the BD municipal office, which is 2.11 million. Another one is this office, which is 3.8 million. So that 3.8 is not at all anywhere. 2.117, I put it into that 10-year program, which is in 2025.
So when we sell both buildings or build a new one,
Yeah, so some background on that assessment. We used some funding, we hired an engineering firm to come in and do a full assessment of both these two buildings based on the needs of our administrative municipal office and the space available. We received that report and they highly recommend that this facility is not renovated because it needs so much work. It needs a new transformer, it needs so much work to upgrade it. $3.8 million versus 2 point whatever that it would take to renovate and upgrade the town office that's currently being used. And that incorporated the reinstallation of a better council chambers in that facility where everyone can be nested.
What about the wasted area, sorry, the lawn on the hill?
So they showed options for future expansion where you could expand on that building to not only a second floor, but even to the east.
So does that include how much, like, this is movable and sellable pretty easy, this chambers, you know, but the land itself, does it give you an idea of what the land itself here is valued at? Is valued at?
It was the assessment was never based on property value or
Yeah.
asset value. It was more based on feasibility. Can we get all our staff here comfortably, or is it better to get them all over there, and will it work, and is it feasible to do that now for a long-term game plan? So
Heather asked my question, so what is the next step if this property is not feasible to keep? What are you looking at for like a resale value?
Imagine if we wanted to sell it and we didn't make that call.
and then we would have it appraised. And,
Yeah. So, and I totally agree, like, we should look at selling something soon, but I'd sooner sell them both and build. Carrie,
And it's been indicated, so it is put in the 2025 budget, recognizing that we're gonna need to deal with our spaces probably sooner rather than later. It was decided that it might be a big hit and kind of surprising to see it in the 2024 budget. There's been some discussions about the scope of the feasibility study. As Craig mentioned, it was scoped to accommodate the staff. As we move forward, we might see that those needs change over the next 2 years. And so when it comes forward in 2025, we can actually have more detailed information.
And if I might add to that, and this is sort of off track of this particular subject, but it's in relation to the topic in a whole. We've had this discussion a couple of times in the past where we know our facilities, our amenities are all in great need of upgrades or renovation or just simple replacement. We're looking at an arena that's 50 years old. We're looking at a pool that was installed in or opened in 67. We got a community hall that's in rough shape. We've got this space. We've got our other we got a fire hall in the floodplain. We got a public works building that's, should be condemned. We've got a beautiful public works building that is, wow, there's no ability to expand. I have no yard space. I would also propose that maybe over the next year that this council consider not only some public engagement to identify what our public would like to see for recreational services, But a full assessment of what, working with planning, there's a lot coming our way. And we're going to be probably caught sooner rather than later on our needs for more space or better space. And I think it's ideal right now to start planning what that looks like, doing feasibility on all of it. What is our growth in the next 10 years, 20 years? What are our needs? Where are we all gonna live?
What part of the planning process is that gonna fall in the next year? We have the MVP, we have our LUW, we've got our ARBs and that. Where's that conversation best placed strategically for this council to visualize the next few steps?
My understanding, and Ben can correct me if I'm wrong, there was no budget allocated for that kind of study in 2024. If you would like to amend your operational budget and direct me to perform that work, I would be.
That'd be. Where does that fall in relation to the MVP?
Yeah.
So the municipal development plan is a very, very high level overview of how the community should grow and be laid out in the future. Where is residential going to be focused? Where is commercial going to be focused? Where is industrial? Where do we have limitations, i.e. around our stormwater ponds? You can't just develop up to them. The highways, we have obvious constraints with development near highways or the river or escarpment. So it lays out kind of some of those development patterns. It wouldn't necessarily address in finite detail. Like we might say, oh, this area needs another school because of the projected population. This area needs some rec facility. There can be some verbiage about general prioritization of a town hall being central. But when it comes to like facility size, cost, utilization, it's not the place. There are, and there's MDP requirement or MGA requirements for your MDP.
But I'm just wondering, should we have the MVP done before we do this? Or is this okay to do?
I don't think that it would necessarily. One doesn't necessarily massively affect the other. If we're looking at utilizing the same property, like parcels of land for our facilities, go ahead and do the facilities. If we're not going to use the same parcels of land, go ahead and do the facilities, because we're then gonna at least know, okay, that size of lot is unsuitable, and actually might feed in nicely to the then, oh, that parcel for a fire hall isn't sufficiently sized for today's requirements. We're gonna need to start looking maybe in one of these new development areas for a parcel that is adequately sized for water requirements.
I'll be able to get you to do that, but I think you're gonna have lots on your plate this year to get done. So I do have a question though, regarding Colts Landing. Did they put aside some land for school?
Yes. Colts Crossing has a school dedication.
Because if they've done that, and the Diamond Valley East has got a parcel very close to the arena and that we had been holding for the potential of a school down the road. That would be a perfect spot for new municipal buildings, and it's owned by the town. So, and we there's big picture we can be looking at here, and we don't necessarily need to stay in that office, and we don't necessarily, it's been proven that we don't necessarily need to be on the main drag just because of this town office being on, and I think staff found it kind of nice not being on the main drag. So I think that there's a lot of options to look at, but boy, I tell you, I wouldn't want to see you guys have to dig into that this year. I think there's some other priorities that we have to do. I think we need to be forward looking and start thinking about these things and what we're gonna do, but I don't know, like, I just don't know.
Ben, and then Cindy, and then I'm ready to move on.
So we did allocate the 125,000 for the building assessment for all the buildings for the year 2024. So that is in our budget.
Say that again.
Thanks.
So 2024, we did allocated some funds, 125,000, to do the assessment of all the buildings.
Perfect, good. Cindy, perfect.
I think to do the full, know where future pool and future fire hall and all these big things, I don't think, yeah, I mean, that's huge, but we do know that this place isn't where we're going to be. It's smack dab in residential and you don't put, we shouldn't be putting anything big here unless it's, condos or something residential. Like, to me, this screams
Cedar Hill.
condo
Absolutely.
project on it, right? So I don't want to wait when we already know the obvious. I don't want to wait for another study to be done to tell us something that I already know.
Yeah.
So is there a place to put, especially since we're putting 30 grand into an audio visual system in this, is there another location for this? Because we don't have a council chambers and it's gonna cost a lot of money and I don't even wanna go there. Because I'm happy on this. Can we put this somewhere else so we can get this site ready to sell? You have a location for it.
Well, these are portable buildings, so they can absolutely be moved. I would have to look at it a little more closely, but there is a fair chunk of land at the current municipal office on the southeast corner that we could probably set something up. Some investigation would need to be done to make sure we have a. Yeah, we could see if we could, we just need to measure some space and.
Yeah, can we just move forward with that? Can we just look at moving this so we can use it for council chambers, so we don't have to spend $2 million renovating it when we're happy with this? And get, so can we set aside some money for, or you've got money for getting the real estate assessment appraisal for this property figured out in 2024? Like, is that, can I just make that motion? You got it for that?
No, I don't.
So part of planning for plans for the next year will also come into meeting. Partially from my understanding, but also just good practice. The municipality should always have an inventory of their held assets and what we potentially might want to sell off. And so that's just a project that is really my normal.
So council wanted to do it, so
I would say we
Yeah.
will. Whatever the amount we are generating from this, that we can compensate against the other building.
so you don't need a motion, you do need a motion.
I think that's all part of this year's plan anyway.
You can like level the flare while you're at it.
Yep.
Here.
I'll make that.
That was.
You'll see it.
We're
Like-
involving it.
The ongoing operating for like heating and taking care of empty buildings, there's gotta be. Like, come talk to us, we'd love to have these conversations. Right? We have to watch taxpayer dollars and every year goes by that we don't make decisions, we're costing money, right?
Okay, council, we are treading water on capital
Yep.
10 years. We can look at the draft if we really want to dig into that, but
It's.
I think for the 10-year is what it is. Unless, like I say, is there something exploding in 5 years?
All I can say with certainty at this very moment is there is a huge number of kilometers of water line that just need to be done.
Yep.
And unfortunately, this is going to cost us tens of millions of dollars and it just needs to be done. So and I think you all know that. It's just something that we need to move forward. I do also want to caution, there are some properties that were on the list for this municipality or this side of the municipality as well. And if you recall the first iteration, there was Frontenac. I have yanked that off because as much as it needs to be done, it does not carry the same level of serious liability as some of the infrastructure.
Thank you for doing that because we did notice that and first takes priority and like Sunset, you take on one big one, you execute. Good, that's a win. Next year after year, right? So appreciate that. Okay, we are good. You guys have information for draft 3. We're gonna move on in the agenda. Final thoughts, if anyone wants it, Hazel?
So 10-year plan, painting of the outside pool. That's not on here.
I'm sorry.
The painting of the outside of the pool.
Just under operating, is it not?
Yeah, I would imagine that that'll be an operating expense. I couldn't imagine it being too pricey unless we're going to commission an artist. Not too sure how to move forward. I don't know if the town would be satisfied with a simple single coat of paint and just solid coat it, or if we want some
I
more.
think it would look better than what it is now.
Yeah, we could, absolutely, and that's just paint and labor.
That's up to you this year or?
Operating.
That would be under operating.
That's an operating expense.
Are you just waiting for us to decide whether we want something commissioned? Is that why?
Not for.
No, I think my reluctance is that there was an artist that did that original art, despite the fact that it's peeling and starting to look horrible. Well, it's all, sorry, it's beginning to look horrible. I was just, residents are sensitive to change. And
They want their murals.
and that's a big change, and I was just sensitive about painting over it.
Mhm.
So, but if council supports that, then I am
I
happy
think the time
to.
has come to do it. I mean,
Is there a nice picture of when it looked pretty? Find it,
I would imagine,
blow it up, stick it on there after you painted it, and we're good.
we'll just vinyl wrap it.
You don't have to blow it up to the actual size it was, just, in memory of the
Yeah.
mural. Everything is transient. We get a poem going and we're done. Paint it. I love that.
we liked the mural in the Claire and Derek, and nothing was said.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. We still have those billboards from the Flare and Derrick, but.
Yeah.
um,
No one.
Nobody ever said anything.
It just needs to look nice.
Yeah, it does.
I'd say the building, I think, can live on past the pool as a
Yep.
shower facility for the campground. Hopefully, we see some expansion of the campground. Speaking of campground, just to prolong this meeting, any thoughts on putting in some infrastructure into there?
We have not investigated the full cost of that, just simply because of everything else that's
Sounds
going
good.
on.
Okay, moving on. Thank you for all the work in this, everyone. Appreciate it. West Wind, request for support. No need to report. We're coming back.
For the Westlands.
Oh, yes, indeed I do.
Would you like it right now?
Right now.
All right, the council direct administration to send the attached letter of support to the Minister of Senior, Community and Social Services and CC West Winds Community.
Bingo. Now, the only thing that's gonna change on that is that letter is the same letter I signed back in the day. It was then signed by then Chairperson Ted Mills. New chairperson is Don. Not eating, very similar.
You knew it.
Anyway. Yeah, right? Oh, it was the only one I see.
That's the new one written up to go.
Yeah, Ted's not the chairperson anymore.
Put it in.
The Jason Dixon over here, sorry, ha ha ha. Signing it right now. Done. All in favor? Thank you, good, that's carried, I got your letter right here,
We
Vernon.
should give a motion on the capital budget to bring it back. The versions read to the January meeting. But I think that.
And
Sure.
also along with that, if the council is okay, I can bring the reserves, like as we were discussing, classifying into different departments.
Yeah, let's move it into a motion.
And a plan for simplifying our research system.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 minute.
Where's it right now?
Part of the studios, so something's happening.
Is that another word for tired?
Sorry, I tried.
I mean, that's 750 and 24 on. 25.
Could I clarify if I've caught what you want here? So direct admin to return the capital budget and a plan to formalize reserves and grants to the January 17th meeting?
Like, they're not having a meeting on January. They're not. I won't be here.
Did I get what you wanted?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, to return the capital budget and a plan to formalize reserves and grants to the January 17th meeting.
Although, but he's also, he's formalizing the grants and reserves that we're using on the budget, but we're also asking for a simplification of the reserves.
That's kind of getting into operations, so I think that he heard it loud and clear.
Yeah,
He'd
but
like to see.
We're the only ones that can decide to merge reserve accounts.
I could say formalize and simplify.
Yeah, okay.
That was.
Okay, do we have a motion for? You want to read back before we vote? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Everyone understand the motion? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We have RCMP letter from, oh, no, we have Ms. Joyce Teskey. So, she sent the letter here. If I had her email address, I could respond. Or we can just write her a hard letter and just. Okay. We can do that.
Comment.
Sure.
I think there's, we've not been good enough at communication on our water because there's so much in the news about everyone else on water shortages and the drought this summer. And everyone still thinks that we're on water restrictions, but we haven't been because we've fixed, our emergency intake's been doing good. But there's still this idea that we're restricted on water.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be addressed, not just to her, but that needs to be addressed better on a community-wide level. So if we can find a way to communicate that.
Do that.
I agree. I think there's some confusion about what those levels of restrictions are. And on the websites, it's level 1. Summer usage.
It's just water conservation.
Water, yeah, but I think that's enough that people are confused because they see it as a restriction because it's got dates or alternate watering schedules to it. So although we understand it, I think residents are confused by it. And I think it's almost better to just not post any restriction or just indicate flat out, no current restrictions. Especially in the winter months.
Sure.
Yeah, fair winter months.
Yeah, I've looked at that on the website because I keep being asked the same question. They keep asking.
I know they keep asking too.
And I keep saying, no,
I
there
got
are
run
no restrictions.
Veronica and Heather.
Yes, I agree, change it to the summer watering schedule when summer hits, but I caution you to don't be too forceful with always wet. And
No.
we're just with water and gush away, because that might bite us this year.
I agree, especially right now. I mean, you're looking at communities that are now, well, a community now, and that's piping water from High River.
Yeah.
And, it's a bad time right now for folks. I mean, farmers and ranchers are, it's like I said, my son and has shipped all his cattle to a feedlot to be fed because they didn't have enough feed. And that's drought. It's serious and it's not looking good right now.
No.
Jonathan?
Even adding to that, there was an article, I don't know if you've all read it, but Alberta wide is stage 4 in their water restrictions. And they're looking to move to stage 5, which means certain industries can take their water license to its fullest extent. They've already given the oil and gas industry the heads up on that.
Yeah.
And I want to, thank Joyce Teskey for bringing this forward. And her suggestion is spot on about us really reviewing what are our current demands on our water supply? What will those demands look like in the future? And she makes a concern about the Cove Crossing there. And I think that's something we need to really put on our, not just our radar, but perhaps really put on our calendar. Is having a committee of the whole to look at what kind of water strategy do we want to implement for the town. I don't think we're too far down the road of having to do what Okotoks has done with their developers, bringing water license to the table to move forward. We might not be there yet, but I think we have to be considering all these different responsibilities and requirements.
Thank you. Clever than heaven.
Crowds actually seeking public input. They don't know what to do.
Yep.
They're asked surveying everyone. What do you want us to do about water and restrictions and how there is no water? And I agree that we will be limited in our development, but I don't think it will be because we don't have enough water license. It will be because we don't have any water.
Water down.
And that's the.
Water license isn't gonna come into play.
We've got to double our population.
Water license thing isn't working because there are no water licenses available to buy. So I just don't know how the province is gonna move ahead with this, or I don't even know how Okotoks and now their water treatment plant and everything that they were gonna share with the county is being delayed 4 years. So it's a huge problem and we have to have our, we have to have our eye on the ball and look at a strategy and, you know, like phasing in Colts Landing, it's good. Like, I mean, there's no way, but I mean, maybe the council of the future is going to have to look at a population cap. Period. It'll depend on our Sheep River and water licenses and all sorts of things coming into play. This is just my opinion, but I think it's pretty important that we're keeping an eye on this because it's bad out there right now. I mean, we've been through it before. We've been through bad droughts before where we were piping water out of the Sheep River to fill dugouts for cattle and stuff, but that was in the early 80s. It was 7 years of drought. And it kind of does cycle in the 7 years. You've even seen that in Australia. It's almost exactly 7 years before they came out of drought.
They had a bad one.
I don't, still, I don't know. I think that we just have to. We have to talk about it. Absolutely. I totally agree, Councilor Gordon. It's something that we need to keep.
Councilor Holly.
Yeah, I've done the math and with the new annex land, like if you took what the population expectations were on like what we had before and then we annexed, like we don't have enough water and sewer capacity for all of it. So I think there is going to have to be some discussions as to who gets it and when do people start having to bring licenses.
They won't be able to bring them.
Or they can't. So do we, yeah, it should change our MDP. So to me, I think understanding the water situation needs to happen before the MDP. And I don't know if we could.
Yeah, no.
Because otherwise we say, no, we need more green space because we don't have water for these houses that could have gone in here anyway. So let's spread out more, or maybe we need more industrial that doesn't use water. You know, it can only be low water use businesses, period, right? Like, you get what I'm getting at? So,
Our engineering partners and Craig and his team, I think actually do have a pretty good handle on what our water situation is. I'm playing a little bit of catch up. But I'm hearing and I agree with the communications part and laying it out more simply for everybody to understand. So, heard.
So can we just write, have admin draft a response, but then can we also throw this on? Well, how we're going to talk about the water.
It's good. You're so great, council, at knowing where we need to go because there's a large conversation, as you know, with one of our regional partners around this topic. And they have many things to say and lots of ideas that I think council will be more than happy to hear out. And yes, let's have this discussion in January. And
Reservoirs?
there's all kinds of good stuff. Can't say it in public, but I can certainly inform in camera of discussions that are ongoing. That are, I think, very exciting items. So. Excellent.
let's move on.
The next town is utility rate, so I think it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Joyce has a phone number, I don't know. Do
Isn't
you
it
know her? Anybody know her?
Staff and.
We'll just
staff
send her a
and
letter. Send her a letter.
We'll send a letter answering
And,
her.
Perfect.
Mayor Kane can sign
can I
it.
do a motion for admin to come up with a communication, some sort of
Yes,
idea for communication, whether it's a newsletter? Staff come up with better communication on our current water situation.
Yeah.
For,
capacity,
Yeah.
where we sit in comparison to everybody else,
yeah,
right?
And that was something that I heard as a theme at the Colts Crossing open house.
Yeah.
And so I agree that we need, and it's already on my to-do list, that we need to come up with some better communication.
Excellent.
well, yeah, I would be mad if you tell me that I've been on water restrictions for 10 years and, but you're gonna let more people in. It's like Mad Max out there.
I got the seeds.
That's right.
Okay, so you want a motion to that effect, or you want to carry?
I just have a motion is good.
Okay, so it's a motion to increase communication plan,
Increase communications on our current water situation.
and that can come back to council, or it can just.
Start doing it.
All in favor?
Hey,
Carried. RCMP letter. Oddly enough, I had a meeting with Don Brissette, our staff sergeant, today. This was one of the topics. Was the complement of officers that were presented at the AUMA. Of course, I wasn't at that particular meeting you guys were. I was told 4 was the new number.
That's right.
So 4 is the new number. However, that he was very clear to say is only a recommendation, and we have the final say in what we would like to see. So that conversation turned into, well, what's the real capacity of the RCMP to service our area in terms of staffing numbers? Right? As we know, everyone is looking for people, and we have a very large area for the complement of officers. So what does that look like? Boots on the ground. So this is another discussion. We have till 2025, so we have another year to look at this and before we sign on the dotted line. So we don't need to solve that problem tonight, but we definitely want to get on, moving on with where are we at, where our negotiations, and what do we actually want to see.
I want to see the actual number of what we've been getting, so we know what we're comparing to. If they say, oh, you need 3 or oh, you need 4, but what if we've only ever been getting 2, right? Like, they're never telling us, or 0, like.
Yep.
Tell us, give us the last 5 years of data of how much you've been,
So they
Like,
didn't give you
yeah.
that update.
no, they didn't, they
we asked
could.
for it.
Yeah, said they could,
Okay.
yeah, just tell us what you've actually been
So
giving us.
let us ask for a business case. How's that?
I
sound?
think it's coming, right?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
But
I think it's gonna be continually just, well, we could, but we don't, and we could, but we don't. Just like I thought that after my conversation today, you guys have been presented with a number and an outlook. So let us ask point blank in a motion then to provide the business case breakdown with your allocation, who, what, when, where, and why by Q1 of 2020. So that we may begin to move forward. No, end of.
Vernon had her hand up there.
So we're trying to actually organize them to come for a visit at the January 17th meeting.
Okay. Can I ask them?
So is it the staffing
Well, they
allocation?
can bring that to the January.
I can send that
Okay, so
email before we close tomorrow.
Yeah, a motion to bring the historical FTEs, information,
5 years.
service levels.
And the business case to justify their proposal.
A business case, that's like, sounds really.
Well, you know what? That's what I want to see at this point. I don't want to hear fluff. What we think 4. Well, we
Based
think
on-
1 in the office and maybe a guy floating around on a bike. I'm done.
4 officers.
I wanna
they
hear
have
it.
Like 0.3333 allocated to each officer, so you need your support admin person for your officers.
So let's see it on paper.
They
in their
told us that
case.
she said 5 people,
They keep saying that, but
5.2.
put it on paper so we can say, you know,
What's the cost? With the cost,
right?
with the grant,
So
we're not speeding.